flyers who try to help people with their eating disorders. The problem with the no-nuance narratives in the modern day where people don't go outside is that there are many men whose only experience with women is this type of content. So of course, if all you see is women doing bad things and you have little to no experience with women in real life, even as co-workers or in friend groups, then you're going to think that women are mostly evil gold diggers, which demoralizes people and makes them think that there is no point in pursuing a relationship. The issue is that's not reality. Reality is a lot more like this.
So how much would you want him to spend on a ring?
Over like $300.
But no less than?
I wouldn't care.
I think her heart's in the right place, but $300 is very cheap for an engagement ring. But more important...
Yeah, but they're in front of the camera. You can't trust any of this. You're like, oh look, people who only watch online content think X. Because he's critiquing the Fresh and Fit street interview crowd. But then to counteract that, and he critiques that type of evidence, he says, here's a street interview, that proves you're wrong. It's like, yeah, well, I'd use the exact same critique, which is it's a street interview. She's looking at a camera like, bitches ain't dumb. They're not that dumb. They know not to fucking out themselves in the middle of a video. And it's not, most of them do. It's actually rare the ones that are dumb enough to say. They're usually like drunk. That's why they say the ridiculous shit. It's because they're drunk and they're trying to be funny. But yeah, if she wants to look good in front of the camera, yeah, you can't trust her when she says that. And that's not a realistic couple either. That couple there.
Not every woman cares about having a $40,000 ring.
How much do you expect him to spend on a wedding ring?
I don't want him to spend too much. I think he should spend like less than $2K.
I think what you see on TikTok doesn't describe the majority of women. The majority of women value good connection over what you can buy them. I mean, statistically, it must pan out that way because most married men don't have the price of a new car to spend on a ring. Now, expensive items are great provided that you have the means and a good relationship is already in place, but if they are valued and demanded over connection, like, say, someone with the facial expression of a sociopath like the Wizard Liz or a Manifestel would recommend, then that is a massive red flag. Couples shouldn't be preying on each other's prospects. They should be lifting each other up more like this.
How old are you?
I'm 21.
Are you serious? They should be lifting each other up. He's in a club. There's a girl with basically no clothes on. And he's using her as an example. This is what I mean. Like, it's a bunch of retarded idiots trying to, like, it's like a bunch of explorers who have no clue what the fuck they're doing. They don't know any of the native wildlife. They don't know any of the geography. They don't know any of the names of the plants. And they're like, hey, look, we found this squiggly thing. It crawls on the ground and it eats other smaller squiggly things. And it likes to make big, giant webs of silk, and we don't know what to call it, but you just sound like an idiot. You sound like you don't know what you're talking about. That's what I see when I see a lot of people try to analyze the dating. We're gonna analyze the dating culture from what, like, from what perspective, like, from what lens, what actual. And yeah, when you say stuff like, oh, we're going to get a reasonable perspective from this walking harlot, sure, bro, okay.
Yes, I do.
Would you date a man who didn't have one?
Absolutely. Who gives a fuck about any of that shit, Jenny?
She's drunk, bro. She's drunk. He's using her to look credible. She's clearly drunk. This doesn't mean shit. She is not a pillar of the modern woman, an exemplar of a good woman. She doesn't even represent anybody. She doesn't even represent herself. She's just like spurging drunk at a club. This means nothing.
And who gives a fuck?
Okay, clearly she's drunk. It's a format.
Yeah, so this is the best example you could bring up of a wholesome woman, is you brought up like a drunk TikTok girl. Plus, these are all cherry-picked. He showed 2 examples where they're, like, reasonable, where they're not as egregious. But there's, for every one of those, there's 100 clips of women online saying the exact opposite, right? So, this didn't even do anything.
A lot of these channels interview women in areas where they know there are going to be lots of people who are under the influence. That's how Hawk Tua became a meme.
Hold on.
Yes.
So if you met a man out here, then he told you, yo, I don't have a whip, you still want to take him further?
Say you need a ride to the airport? I got you.
You pick him up for the first date, too.
Of course.
I mean, the guy should have a
Yeah,
car, but
she's a keeper. No, she's being funny. She's just saying shit on camera. Like, she's drunk.
yes, there are plenty of women out there who are willing to make a relationship work despite limiting circumstances. These are
This is a really
generally the
shitty
women you
example.
want.
Think before you. This is a really shitty example. Think before you sleep. You do not look credible bringing that up as your example that, you know, women are based. You brought up a harlot, drunk in a club. Like I'm gonna give a flying fuck what she has to say. I don't care what she says. Doesn't matter if she says, you know, Lord, like Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior, and she starts purporting Hegelian dialectics to me. I don't care what fucking verbal alchemy comes out of her mouth. Looking like that, in that kind of place, wearing that kind of dress. Words are words.
Not the ones who act like perpetual children, expecting the guy to do absolutely everything in the relationship, such as your average female Instagram influencer does. The benefit of being in a relationship where both parties behave like adults is stuff like you preventing her from doing stupid stuff that's bad for her, and she prevents you from acting out around the police. I don't know if they're in a relationship.
I don't know if that was a good example either. Why you need your woman to tell you that the police are there? So you got like a stupid 16-year-old kid. You got a stupid 16-year-old kid who's buzzed out of his mind and on who knows what. That's what I mean. He's pulling examples from like degenerate fuckers at parties, being degenerate idiot clowns who have no morals, who have no values, who have no goals, no purpose, no meaning, no religion, no parents, no future, no bitches, no will to live. Like, he's just pulling from like the worst people to make his arguments for healthy relationships. Like,
But that's the kind of person that you want around you. She might have just saved that guy.
like healthy relationships don't post their day-to-day life on social media. They're not on their phones 24/7.
Arrested that night. But moving back to the depressed and demoralized person who watches YouTube, it's not just with women. There's actually a whole market
I'm not
for
depressed and demoralized. I'm a little demoralized in the sense that I have standards, and the standards I have are not going to be met likely, given the current dating culture. And that's not really based off what I see on YouTube and I see on Red Pill. That's based in real life, with kind of the philosophy that I've learned from the Red Pill on YouTube overlaid on top of my experiences. So it'd be things like, I know the girls that I've talked to and been around, and then the Red Pill's like, here's how to identify this and that, here's hypergamy, here's what a whore looks like, here's what a virgin looks like. And then I'm able to go through my past experiences and go, oh, that was definitely not a pure woman. I'm able to now look at women that exist on campus and go, you're a slut, you're this, you're that, you probably have an STD, you're this, you're that. I'm able to kind of reinterpret the data through the new lens, the new paradigm. But yeah, I'm not demoralized by this because it's just degenerate shit. It's kind of irrelevant to me.
content that appeals directly to these people in kind of a pathological way. It's a very weird form of content that friends of mine call loser reveals. Basically, a loser reveal is when people farm how bad their life is going for content. Like, I'm 38 and still living with my parents.
Yeah.
You also have, I'm 35 years old and never had a
Yeah,
girlfriend.
that's pretty common, yeah. I don't like that. I don't like the one where there's a guy wearing a ball cap talking about how hard dating is, or like these like intimate one-on-one pieces of content. They're very gay. It's like, stop pretending like you're my friend. Stop trying to construct a parasocial relationship dynamic where you're my friend and we're chatting on the couch together. Like, fuck this shit. You're not gonna do shit for me. You're there to make content. You're there to have people listen to you. You're not gonna do shit for any of these fucking guys. He's like, hey man, what's up? You know, it's just very gay.
4. Now, initially, I was sympathetic towards this kind of content.
Like, get a real friend.
until
Like, get someone who actually wants to listen to your problems, not fucking YouTubers.
I learned it's like a proven format for views. Probably the most egregious producer of loser reveal slop content is this guy called Ask Japan, who started out as a way of tricking them into watching a self-help video. Not as successful, but the loser reveal meta gets so many views that it spawned the anti-loser reveal meta. Though it's always been fascinating to me is how much information can completely change the trajectory of someone's life. Good information and a willingness to change can exponentially make someone's life better in a matter of like 2 years. But on the other side of that, bad information can...
Yeah, get off of YouTube, frankly. It's mostly a waste of time. It's mostly just a giant content farm meant to keep you there forever. You don't need most of it. Most of these kids, me included, you shouldn't be listening to me. Right? I don't know. I don't have some secret magic sauce that's going to teach you how to fix your life. None of us do. So what are you doing? Like, we don't have something magical that's going to save your life. We're not going to improve your life drastically by spending 20 minutes doing a video. Go take those 20 minutes you would have spent on YouTube. Go for a run. Go to the fucking gym. Go write down what you need to do for tomorrow. Go organize some notes. Go write up a routine, planner, schedule. Whatever you gotta do, go, right? Like, don't waste time on fucking YouTube. YouTube is really not going to... Unless you have a distinct goal with, like, why am I on YouTube? I want to learn about X. I need to learn about X because Y and then Z. Sure. But yeah, like, the answer is not on YouTube. People on YouTube don't really have the answer. They're just kind of like floundering idiots for the most part. Or they're like out of touch boomers who don't care about your problems.
And destroy people's lives, and there's no shortage on the internet of poorly researched material that is demoralizing people and causing them to burn years of their young lives doing nothing. I've talked about this a lot in terms of the woke stuff, and more recently, I've been talking about how the manosphere demoralizes people with bad or flat-out wrong information.
Okay. Fresh and fit. Yeah, manosphere, okay. Well, easy pickings. He's going to make fun of the fresh and fit. Go ahead. Let the dogs eat each other. I'm not going to defend
One
them.
of the prime ways they demoralize viewers is by being awful at interpreting studies or understanding data, or they're hiding crucial information that doesn't fit their narrative because it will
Once
get them
again,
less views,
another goober.
or they don't actually read the studies and they will cite data that they don't know the source of. That happens a lot, and I mean a lot. For example, these spaces love to quote a statistic that stems from this really old OkCupid study that mentions nothing about population size and say, look, women rated most men as unattractive, but forget to mention that women will still talk to these guys anyway. Do you know who was more exclusionary based on appearance? Men. 2/3 of men are messaging the best-looking third of women.
What does this mean? All this means is that there's other factors that the study is in. Well, you're redefining the objective of the study and then saying, look, it's inconclusive. Well, it's like, that isn't what the study is out to do. It's not to say whether or not men get texted by women, it's how women rate them, basically. And it's important because it informs men on how women are approaching men and what kind of attitude they're taking towards them. Because if most women see men as unattractive, then they're going to see you in a different light. Even if they're still talking to you, it means they're like taking pity on you, or they see you as they're lesser, right? Like they're aesthetic lesser, their looks wise lesser, right? So yeah, he's like, well, they still talk to them, okay, but that doesn't really mean anything. That's not a meaningful refute of the study. It's like, so what?
No shit, they don't get picked as often. Also, here's a guy who mentions that they don't really discuss how they attract interpreting studies or understanding data, or they're hiding crucial information that doesn't fit their narrative because...
Also, he keeps talking about data. What's his degree? His degree is in kinesiology or some shit. Or like nutrition. It's some like fruity ass fucking like gay liberal arts He's not a statistician. He's a statistician. He's not a fucking hard science writing up lab reports every day. He's not a chemist. He's not a business major. He's not doing any numbers. He's not a mathematician. So he keeps boasting about like, oh, I know how to do stats because I was educated. It's like, okay, what were you educated in? Oh, nutrition, kinesiology. I think it's nutrition, which is basically useless. Or like health sciences. He's in like the health sector. You don't really learn shit. You learn a little bit of med, science, and then the rest of it is like fruity shit.
Them less views, or they don't actually.
And I can say that because I had a friend who was in there, and he told me firsthand, like, yeah, it's not the same as. Because he tried to transfer into biomedical engineering, which is like an actual hard science, and then he's like, oh. So they're not the same when you're like, just because you're more educated doesn't mean you're the same type of education. They're very different.
The studies, and they will cite data that they don't know the source of. That happens a lot, and I mean a lot. For example, these spaces love to put a statistic that stems from this really old.
Okay, so your picture matters most. Yeah, okay.
Old OkCupid study that mentions nothing about population size and say, look, women rated most men as unattractive, but forget to
Okay, yes.
mention that women will still talk to these guys anyway.
This is retarded. This is retarded. Are they fucking them? Like, are you stupid? Think before you sleep. Are you stupid? This is really dumb. You're like, oh, gotcha. They're still talking to them. Talking? That's not even second base. That's not even first base. In my eyes, that's not first base. Talking? That's a waste of time. That's like listening to a sales guy throw you a sales pitch. It's like, I haven't got anything yet. Like, I've seen no ROI on anything yet. Oh, look, they'll still talk to them. Obviously you're not aware of the fact that attractive guys don't sit around in the friend zone texting women. That's what the unattractive guys do. They're called orbiters. And it's definitely a real thing that I've definitely experienced in real life, is women have guys that just orbit them. They sit in their DMs, they chat with them for like fun. They hang out with them and talk, but never do anything, never get any closer. They're kept at a specific distance, like a planet, and they just orbit them. So yeah, like if we're talking female messaging and male attractiveness, yeah, because messaging is not equivalent to sex. Because women will either fuck you, because the attractive men don't waste a bunch of time messaging. They get straight to fucking. Like, the goal of the dating app is to get fucking, not to sit there texting all day. This is so retarded. Like, this is just...
Do you know who was more exclusionary based on appearance? Men.
Male messaging and female attractiveness. Least attractive women got ignored. So this is, once again, messaging. So men aren't going to orbit low-value women. Men are more willing to orbit attractive women. And of course men are going to discriminate on looks. Nobody's arguing that. Everyone does. Everyone cares about looks. This is like basic. If you think I'm just going to be a nerd and I'm just going to, she'll like me for my personality and she'll like Star Wars, and I'm just going to find an anime girl like me who cares about anime. You know, who likes McDonald's. No, give up. Like, get out. Like, if you're that, then, like, get out. Like, we're past that. That's like trying to teach you multiplication. You haven't even learned addition yet. You're like, okay, you need to go back and go to level 1. Everyone cares about looks. Men do too, but this is messaging, dude. Messaging doesn't mean shit. This doesn't mean shit. This doesn't mean shit. So, it's really dumb.
2/3 of men are messaging the best-looking third of women. So, no shit they don't get picked as often. Also, here's a guy who mentions that they don't really discuss how the attractiveness ratings were obtained.
Probably from poll. And that's just skepticism. That doesn't mean anything. Some guys, so yeah, there's a bit of ambiguity there. But it should be fairly intuitive. That's the other part, is you shouldn't need like, well, what is the exact metric by which they obtained the attractiveness scores? I don't fucking know. Like, what would you rate her on a scale of 1 to 10? Probably.
That matters because, for example, this totally...
And it's like, well, they can't represent the data as like girls on a 10, girls on a 9. Right? So they're going to represent it as a like graph. Just to illustrate that women are operating on a very different scale, here are just a few of the many, many guys we decent, but I want to rated him.
Looking guy with the guitar here might have rated lower because he's a musician and that makes him look broke. Would he have rated higher if he took a picture next to a yacht in a suit or a lab coat in a hospital? How much of their physical appearance was related to markers of wealth, or this guy's lack of emotion and really terrible hairstyle? Though to be perfectly honest, this study was removed from the OkCupid website like a decade ago, and the archive is difficult to find, so I think that almost none of these people who are talking about it have actually read the entire thing. Yet they'll still quote it constantly, which is very irresponsible.
It's just very obvious. You don't need like to hyper-analyze and critique the studies. Like, do women care about attractiveness? Like, and I think they've replicated this study actually. I think they've replicated, because I've seen a bunch of YouTube videos that talk about the topic, and they all circle back kind of to the same conclusion, which is that yeah, women care about looks first and foremost, which should be obvious. Like, unless you're dumb.
See stuff like this Pew study where they'll say, "Look at all these single guys. It must be because women suck." Well, did the study say that? Or is it possible that they are single because they never go outside, and women in those age groups are less likely to be single because women typically date older men who have...
More young men are single than women in the post-pandemic era. Yep. Which should be impossible, right? That doesn't even really make sense. There's more single men than women. That doesn't make sense. 2 to 1. How does that work, eh? Hypergamy, I guess, or we got fucking polygamy going on. What you probably have happen too is, like, I feel like women are less likely to report being single. They're like, oh, we're dating. And then he's like, nah, no, we're not. Because women have this, one sec. right. Let's go back a little bit.
Site like a decade ago, and the archive is difficult to find, so I think that almost none of these people who are talking about it have
It's
actually
not that hard to find. It's the Wayback Machine.
read the entire thing. Yet they'll still quote it constantly, which is very irresponsible. You'll also see stuff like this Pew study where they'll say, look,
Roughly 6 in 10 men report being single. Okay. Three in 10 Americans report being single. But it's mostly men. No, they're about the same. Oh, 18 to 29. Yeah. Okay. 63 versus 34. Okay. Alright, so let's see what he's got to say.
look at all these single guys. It must be because women suck. Well, did the study say that? Or is it possible that they are single because they never go outside, and women in those age groups are
You just
less...
don't go outside, guys. That's why. You guys aren't going outside enough. You're too glued to your phones. Women are just so much more pro-social than you.
less likely to be single because women typically date older men who have better jobs and are more willing to commit.
That's true. Women are just dating all the older guys because they're not materialistic. And they don't care about what you get them for a ring. They're just dating all the older guys because you guys won't go outside. Step it up, man. All the 18-year-olds that you meet in college, your high school crush, she was busy dating the 40-year-old guy because he had a job. Step it up.
Yeah. I mean, do these people even look at their own charts? It says on the right that there was an 11% drop in men looking for relationships between 2019 and 2022 versus a 3% drop in women. So, no shit, there's a big change from 2019 to 2022 in the number of single men. They aren't looking for relationships as often as they were before. Not to mention that this data was obtained during COVID when it was
Okay,
illegal to
and
go outside,
therefore?
which forces everyone to use dating apps that
Who said anything about outside? It's not included in the study at all. Behaviors are not included in the study at all, period. So why does he keep bringing that into it? It's indeterminate.
heavily favor women. Do you want a better chance of success? Stop using apps and go outside. Seriously, some of these
It's like
arguments
a
from these
boomer prattle argument. Just, I'm gonna go outside. You're not owning the red pill with this argument. It's not even an argument. It's just like it's like a quote. It's like just random conjecture. It's like, what the fuck is that?
these groups are so far from reality that you can tell these people haven't interacted with anyone outside of a Discord or a Twitter argument in multiple
This
years.
is what I mean. He's just throwing mud. He's just slinging mud. Like he's like, oh, you just live on Twitter all day. You just live on Discord all day. Like, that's his argument. That's his entire intellectual perspective is, oh, you're just a Twitter troll. You just live on Discord all day. You're a NEET. You're an incel. Go outside. It's like, okay.
I'm also getting really tired of every loser on the internet using some crazy chick on TikTok to justify why their life isn't going well, followed by statements like this.
My life's going great. My life is going great. I am in better shape than I've ever been. I'm eating super healthy. I'm getting an education. I have more money than I've ever had. I'm actually getting attention from women. Now, granted, I don't want attention from these women. But my mental health has been better. I know he's not talking specifically about me, but most of the guys that I see making these videos are not moaning about how bad their life is. They're just like Taylor the Fiend. He's clearly a content farmer, right? So yeah, I get mad at the content farmer for content farming, I guess. Sure, go ahead.
But I do think it's crazy that I'm about to be 34 and I have no family. Because my dad had...
Oh, and Tim Pool. Tim Pool is a fucking idiot. So that's what I mean. He's picking easy targets.
2 kids by the time he was 27.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man. You know what?
Which he's got no excuse, Tim Pool. He's got no excuse. Yeah, that is a good point. Why isn't Tim Pool in a relationship? I actually don't know.
You know what the problem is, though? It's definitely not me.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's everybody else.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounded really bad. That sounded really bad. But Tim Pool's a fucking idiot.
That was funny. So is this whole tenant media thing. Speaking of bad research and bad arguments,
And he keeps bringing up random mud that isn't related. Like his haha, tenant media, conservatives, Russian collusion. You did a business deal overseas. That makes you a conspirator. So it's like if I ever do business with anyone who just happens to be in Russia, I'm like illegal. I'm canceled. Oh no. It's illegal to have people do business overseas. Oh no.
let's talk about the black pill. There's a channel out there called Rehab Room who has reacted to some
I also
of my
don't like the black pill. Like, because yeah, it's defeatist.
content, and he seems to really not like me, so let's look at some of the arguments. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the black pill, its most essential argument is that your ability to get women is solely based on genetics. So if you were born as an unlucky, oofy-doofy, sub 5 out of 10 male, then you have no chance and your life is over. Here's some commentary that Rehab Room did.
A lot of your life is controlled by genetics. They say 50% of your outcomes, in terms of personality, in terms of behaviors, in terms of prospects, are determined by genetics. So roughly 50%. The nature-nurture argument seems about half and half, that's significant. That's significant. That's not hand wave. Oh, 50%, hand wave it away. I would say it's more than that. I kind of think it's more than that. I'm probably more of a rationalist in that I believe humans kind of follow the path that their biology sets out for them, and then they just slowly manifest who they always were. Now, there's events that can kind of shift the course of things. Like you can have a trauma, and then that shifts you down a certain path. But these are set paths that are kind of predetermined, and then kind of like the way a train switches rails, you kind of switch into different life paths based off of whether you have trauma, whether you have a good childhood, whether you get to the right school, whether you don't get to the right school, whether your father beats you or not, right? So, but I think a lot of it is predetermined. And I think, yeah, if you're like a cave troll of a man, you are kind of fucked, frankly. Like, you're never gonna get a hot girl. That's the first thing. You'll be lucky to get like a fellow cave troll wife. And you say, well, if you work really hard as a cave troll, you can. It's like, true, but even your capacity to work hard and be conscientious and like care about yourself and like, I don't believe that just anybody can quit drugs. I don't believe anybody can just fix their life around. I don't believe you just do it, bro. Just fix it. I don't believe that. I don't think it's true. I think if you're like white trash and you've got addicted to fucking heroin, you're fucked. I think it's game over. There's no cards you can play to win. Basically, if your hand is shit, you're just kind of fucked. There's not much you can do. Best case scenario is your hand is not that bad, because that's kind of the reality. Is for most people, for 99% of people, your hand isn't as bad as you think it is. And if we're operating in the law of averages, you should by default assume that you have kind of an average hand, or something close to average. You're probably not above average, and you're probably not below average. You're probably somewhere near the average, right? So it's like statistically, you're not going to have a like retardedly bad hand. So most of it is just optimizing what you do have to kind of try to optimize, basically, and work with what you got. Try to get rid of any unnecessary deficits in the way. Because like, you might not be that ugly, but you might just be fat, right? That's like, you're like, oh, I have shitty genetics. It's like, well, no, you're just fat. You just don't work out. You're just dysgenic. Like, you don't know how to dress. Like, you don't know how to take care of yourself. So, yeah, I would kind of disagree with this perspective where he's like, oh, you can just do XYZ, bro. If you're a cave troll who's a 3 out of 10, you'll get a hot wife who loves you and with a great personality. No, not gonna happen.
On a Redditor.
He made a public post on Reddit saying he can't get any matches no matter what he does.
And then think before he sleeps, gonna look like an idiot here. He's just gonna be like, just do this.
It is really
Just
no
do this.
surprise. He's easily sublife in these pictures. Not that he's doing anything wrong, but rather he's looking wrong. That is the problem.
There's actually a lot this guy is doing wrong, and there's a lot of things he can do to improve his odds. For one, he can go outside instead of using dating apps. He can get a decent job, he can lose weight, and he can gain...
You can turn your life around. Just get a decent job, bro. And that's kind of the part of the bigger picture is like, well, you could just turn your life around, but you kind of can't, though. That's kind of the problem is like, these people are probably on drugs. These people probably weren't raised right. They kind of can't turn their life around. They kind of can't get out of this apartment. They can't. And you don't really have any evidence to demonstrate that they can. Statistically, people born into poverty, born with addictions, born with kind of this white trash, dysgenic position in life, there isn't really a lot they can do to move themselves out of these positions. It's a struggle. It's a struggle, and it takes someone with remarkable character, which is really a gift. Like, that's a good hand. That's a good card. You're surrounded by shitty cards, but you got that ace of spades, right? That ace of hearts, ace of clubs, which is like, I got a good, hard-working character, and I've got a mission, and even though I'm working against my shitty hand I've been dealt, by God, I'm going to do it. But that itself is a good card, and most people just don't have any good cards at all. They don't even have a good resolve to do anything. They don't even have a mission, a goal, a purpose. They're guided by feelings. Their feelings of loneliness and inadequacy are not strong enough to actually motivate them to go do things. They feel sad, and they feel self-deprecated, and they feel like inferior, and that angers them for maybe about 20 minutes a day. They make a post like this, and then they go back to watching King of the Hill with Cheetos. They go back to being complacent. So no, for these people, there really is nothing you can do. You're fucked. What would I tell this guy? Yeah, statistically, you're probably fucked. Lower your expectations. Honestly, that's the best advice I can give to a person like this. That will genuinely make you happier, is lower your expectations. And you say, oh, that's uncomfortable to hear. I don't want to hear that. Nobody wants to say that. Well, it's fucking true. Lower your expectations, and then when you get something, you'll be happy that you got anything. Right? And then it's better to have something that's a lower expectation than to have nothing. That's kind of the problem with social media, is everyone has a taste of what something good looks like. They can all see supermodels on Twitter, supermodels on Instagram, and whatever porn site. So they all like kind of have this entitlement. Oh, we're getting no frames. What the fuck? So everyone kind of has this like quasi entitlement, quasi lust or nostalgia for higher status, but they'll just never have it. So you kind of got to give up on that. You kind of disillusion yourself from, oh, I'm going to have a hot blonde girlfriend with big tits. No, it's not going to happen, dude. You'll be lucky to get a human who doesn't look like a cave troll.
Muscle and grow a beard.
And start there. That's another thing, is like start small. Start small. Because what is true is that as you acquire things, as you acquire capital, that acts as a springboard for you to acquire more capital. Right? So as you acquire things of value, you can weaponize those to help build more value. This is true in business. This is true in your personal life. This is true within your mind as a mindset. It's how you do anything. It is kind of the only way to improve. It's the only real strategy you can use if you just have shitty cards, is to just slowly inch the needle forward as best you can, like with minute incremental steps, and then reinvest. Like, for example, if I'm trying to up my energy, you would do a little more every day. I would work out a little bit, and then, okay, I have a little more energy because the testosterone I got and the adrenaline and the endorphins I got from working out gave me a little more energy, and I feel a little bit better about myself. I'm going to reinvest all of that into working out more the next day. Okay, that gives me a little bit more energy and a little bit more motivation, and then I'm going to take that and reinvest it back into. But that requires diligence, because you got relapses, and you got to avoid that, and you got to worry about shit coming and fucking up your life and getting you demoralized. So even just being that conscientious and diligent is a skill that most trash human beings are not going to have. That you should kind of give up. Just, yeah, lower your expectations and settle for someone who's human, really.
If he ends up having bad bone structure after the weight loss, the beard will compensate for that. Welcome to fashion. Enhance your good features, hide your flaws. Now, does that mean he's going to get a 10 out of 10 woman after he does that? No, but it will increase his odds of finding someone, and traditionally, unattractive people used to just date other unattractive people. Aren't you guys saying that women should lower their standards? How about you pay it forward? So that's the basic tenets of black pill ideology from what I've researched.
No one's saying this guy deserves a 10. Absolutely nobody. Yeah, no one in the red pill is going to say that guy deserves a 10. Not one person. Not even Myron Gaines. No one will say that guy deserves a supermodel.
Appearance is all that matters in relationships, and if you were born with the wrong features, then just give up. Rehab Room goes on to emphasize this point in sort of a passive-aggressive video reaction to me. Like, he doesn't specifically say that he's responding to me, but he is responding to arguments that came directly from this video that I made a few days prior, so I'm going to assume that this video, Get Better Hobbies, is a response to what I said in the video about Walter, the Starbucks guy. Let's hear Rehab's arguments.
There are very few things on this earth that repulse people and make them cringe, more than a sub-5 man with confidence. Today I am bringing you a prime example of this. Notice the difference.
Yes, that's another good point. The confidence, that's a lie. That is a lie. The show, just be confident. They're saying that because all the guys that they knew were confident. But if you're confident for no fucking reason, you got a big attitude, but you're a sub-5 human. Yeah, the confidence is a lie. That's a trap. That's like, just go out and swim with the sharks. They won't bite.
treatment these two dudes get. Not only by people they approach, but also people on social media. Like, same hobbies, same openers, the only difference here is their looks.
Okay, so setting this.
Oh, this is a good point. Do the type of hobby you have affect how girls appear, how girls perceive you? Yes and no. Basically, if you're a 10 out of 10, you saying, well, I do gaming, isn't going to make her not want to fuck you. Basically, she's using stereotypes to judge your attractiveness. And that's kind of what the hobby serves. It's like, this is a litmus for, is this guy hot or not? Is basically what she uses the hobby for. It's like, does he have status? Is he good? She's using the hobby to gauge you. But if she looks at you and you're a 10 out of 10, you're clearly this and that, she doesn't need to look at the hobby. She doesn't care what it says. It's like imagine a hobby is a meter for your gas tank, and it tells you what's in the gas tank. So like, women will go to the meter and look what the dial on the meter says, or the meter on the dial says, and they can learn about what's in the gas tank. But if they're looking at the guy face to face, and they can see he's 6'4", and they can see he's chiseled, they can see he's got respect and all this and that, then they don't need to read the gas meter. They're looking directly into the gas tank. They can see it's fucking full, or they can see it's fucking empty. They don't need to check the meter, right? So I would say you're like, I wouldn't worry too much about the hobbies. Like, the hobbies aren't really going to change anything. You're not going to make yourself more attractive by faking something with a certain hobby. And I wouldn't say you're really going to lower your attractiveness by having X hobby. Like, it's not going to significantly move it, because once they get to know the real you, they're not going to revert to like what the stereotype around the hobby you do is, right? Like, if you're a jacked gamer, they're not going to call you like a fat Cheeto dust eating loser, even though they can see that you're like a obviously in shape person. So people are like, oh, you play Minecraft. I'm like, okay, you can say whatever the fuck you want. Minecraft doesn't make you fat. It doesn't make you lazy, right? So it's a stereotype because people who play Minecraft on average are fat, are lazy, are stupid, are whatever, right? I don't know if that's actually true, but it's a substitute. It's a stereotype, basically. They're judging you based off of a stereotype. They're like, oh, well, gamers in general tend to be kind of fat, a bit smelly. They tend to need to take a shower, all this shit, right? And then they use that to try to learn about you and do guesswork about you. But if they know you, and as they get to know you, or they see a picture of you, or they're talking to you face to face, they're not going to rely on like guesswork hobbies. It's only really during the initial meeting phases. So like, yeah, if I'm on a first date, I'm probably not going to say, hey, I play Minecraft. But if she knows me and she likes me, she's not really going to give a fuck if I play Minecraft or not. It's not going to be a big... No one's really going to give a fuck at that point. The only reason people care is because they don't know me. So then they're like, well, he could be a fat loser. Statistically, people who play Minecraft are fat losers. So yeah, I don't think it matters that much. I think you shouldn't like throw away your hobbies because you think that's going to like make you better or make you more attractive. I would focus on actually being more attractive, and then yeah, if the hobbies are directly impeding with that, like you're spending 12 hours a day on Genshin Impact, or your hobby is directly impacting your life, then yeah, you got to get rid of it, right? But or reduce it at least. But I wouldn't throw away the identity of a hobby just because you want to appear more attractive. I think that's kind of a waste of time.
Stage here.
Yeah, it tricks your brain into thinking that your hobbies are what's going to make you attractive or not, where it's not really. It's not what's important.
Pillars have a lot of their own terminology,
So the black pill is
which
kind of
means
right
I'll have to translate some things. But Rehab Room is about to compare 2 photography channels and the types of responses that they get from female strangers. We have 1.6 million subscriber channel Danny Damien versus Z, who has 1.6 thousand followers. Danny literally has 1,000 times his following, so I'm sure there won't be any sort of skill gap between these two creators. Every response they get is going to be due to the fact that Danny is a Chad Light, and because Z is a sub-5 male. Sub-5 is incel terminology that means he's less than a 5 out of 10 in attractiveness, and Chad Light is a guy who's like a 7 to 8 out of 10. Not quite a Chad, but almost.
Stacy is any woman that an incel wants but cannot get.
Because the guys they call Chads?
Exactly.
Anyway, let's continue, starting with Z.
Hello guys, sorry to bother you. I'm Z. I'm a street photographer.
Brutal, bro. Just brutal stuff, man. I mean, these females ain't even hot. Not even
It's
remotely.
also probably his accent and the way he comes off. Hate to be that guy. I'm not saying I'm racist. I mean, sure, I'll say I'm racist, but I'm saying they're racist, right? So, because yeah, if you...
He seems polite, positive, smiling, asking people what makes them happy, and people still looking at him like...
Yeah, they wouldn't rely on anecdotal evidence in like a big city where people are busy, they got shit to do. Yeah, it's probably just the way this guy comes off.
They are in a hostage footage.
Okay, so we didn't have that much time with Z here, and I don't think that this was the greatest clip to choose to introduce him to an audience. A big problem with Rehab's content is that he constantly assumes that everybody knows what he's talking about, which often comes off as confusing, so I'll have to slow things down here a bit. Now, you might have missed it, but I'll remind you that earlier, Rehab Room, in a backhanded way...
Yeah, cold approaches on the street when you're like a immigrant with like a big beard. You're looking like a little sus. It's just, you come off a certain way to people of the native culture. They think, oh shit, he's gonna fucking bomb me, right? Because we've been, yeah, that's just how people think.
Called Z.
Like if I was in the Philippines as a fairly tall white guy, I'm not gonna like start staring down women and like chasing them in the streets. Like, I just wouldn't do that.
There are very few things on this earth that repulse people and make them...
But
They would have called it an...
Unfortunately, it wasn't on, but...
it's very quick, but did you notice that they did accuse Danny of being a creeper? And instead of the situation, why don't we watch it again?
Unfortunately, it wasn't on, but...
It's very quick, but did you notice that they did accuse Danny of being a creeper?
It's also like social skills. It's social skills. It's not your looks. It's how you can interact with the crowd. That matters. That actually matters a lot. Is like, you can be decently attractive, but if you're not like, if you don't know how to disarm women and like be friendly and be easygoing, make a joke. But that has nothing to do with your attractiveness. So, okay.
Instead of flipping out or acting like a deer in headlights, he maintains his composure and calmly says, "Fortunately, it wasn't on." The reason women are calling the guys creeps that Rehab is accusing of being sub-5s is not because they're unattractive, it's because when women say stuff like what they said to Danny, those guys get anxious and speed up their speech, or they freeze, or worse, they get mad and say stuff like, "No, I wasn't doing that, how dare you accuse me of being a creep?" Women aren't going to feel safe around men who act like that, which is why they get called creeps. I've seen plenty of men who are less attractive.
Yeah, he's right. Like, it's more about making women feel safe and strategically navigating the social situation, but what does this have to do with the main argument? Because you're just saying, well, it matters more about your social skills. Sure.
Than Z do well
I
in
would
these
agree,
situations.
yeah.
By the way, I don't think Z is too ugly for women to like him like Rehab does. Z looks fine based on his profile picture. I swear, after watching a bunch of his videos, Rehab acts like women bring out their rulers and measure a guy's facial proportions before they decide how to treat him. It wouldn't shock me if he's never been in a relationship before, because his portrayal of women is very much like he only...
Yeah, he just calls... well, it's a kind of lowbrow argument. He's basically just ad hominem-ing this guy, this Z guy, saying, well, you've probably never been in a relationship before. Huh, what, you think women just take out their rulers and measure your face? That's basically his argument. That's literally just what he said in so many words. So, I don't know, it's just not very intellectually stimulating, because it's just like slinging mud. That's his entire channel.
experiences them through internet videos. So like I said, I've seen many guys who are less attractive than Z's profile picture handle situations like
He's
this
just
well.
awkward and
Now this doesn't mean that the girl will go out with those guys, but no one is asking anyone out here, and despite what I've heard black pillars say numerous times, you can navigate these situations without women thinking
most
they
of
can
it is
leave
social skills. Like, what's the problem with the black pillars? A lot of it is social skills. But the problem with social skills is it's really hard to develop them if you're ugly, because you're like going to have this negative self-image. Women are going to be to a degree repulsed, and it's hard to like start getting social skills if you're ugly. Like you kind of got like a barrier in front of you, right? So I sympathize with them because it kind of all ties together holistically. It's not one simple answer.
weird or dangerous. Even if you aren't a 10 out of 10 Chad.
When it is a dude women find hot, they are gonna let him get away with anything. Meanwhile, people will micro-criticize every little thing you do. Oh, dude, bro, there wasn't enough distance.
No, you just don't speak very good English, and you got an accent, and like if I saw this guy come up to me, I would be a little nervous.
Not enough space. Distance should have been bigger. That is why you got rejected. You said sorry, bro. That is why
It's
should
just
have
something
been.
like the weather. Like the weather's nice. He did this on a hot, sunny day. People want to hang out and relax. They look busy. They look cold. Like the setting, like, it could be something stupid like that.
Vibe with you. Cop after cop after cop.
No. If some guy they didn't know started taking creeper shots, even if he was a Chad, they would not be okay with that. Well, unless they were drunk or crazy. This is where you can kind of see that maybe this rehab guy doesn't go out that much and talk to people, because for most women, unless they're in a relationship or at least dating, they have pretty strong boundaries about those kinds of photos, especially if they're non-consensual. Let's see more from Z.
Hi, sorry to bother you guys. I'm Z. I'm a street photographer and I take pictures of people. And I believe you both are looking amazing for the photo.
Yeah, he's fucking Muslim. I guarantee he's Muslim. It's just a. Hi, I'm trying to get your photograph. Hey, stop walking. This fucker. Hi, trying to get the photograph. Hello. Why does he cover his channel? Why? Yeah, why did he cover his channel? Okay, so I can't go find him. But yeah, you can just, like, yeah, you're just insufferable. That's why.
A much better clip of memorable viewer who has seen this for the first time, because you get more time to experience Z, which will be more memorable, and Z sounds more confident in this, which enhances an earlier point that you made. Also, from an entertainment perspective, the idea would be that you start with more attractive female rejections and bridge to less attractive women rejecting him, which is a more interesting progression because it's not a shock for him to get rejected by more attractive women if you already showed him getting rejected by less attractive women. The way you formatted this makes future moments in your video less surprising to an audience. You know, if you actually outlined your content before recording or scripting, you would make...
This is also annoying where, like, Think Before You Sleep goes on these rants where he just, like, tells people how to do their job. Like, he just goes into a full deep dive on, like, well, actually, you should be doing this, and then... It's just very, like, can you fuck off a little bit? Like, who asked? A little bit. This comes off kind of like autistic, like when the autistic kid starts telling you how to use the microwave. It's like the Johnny Neutron, like, it's actually sodium chloride.
These mistakes.
Like,
anyway, I bring skill up because this is also a skill issue on Z's part. These women are in sweatpants and ponytails. On the other hand, this girl that Danny took a photo of is made up and ready to have pictures taken of her. So, no shit, she said yes. I'm not going to show it because it's kind of mean, but Z picks a lot of women who look like they just got out of bed or have zero fashion sense, which means they probably don't want photos taken of them or don't like taking photos. This is in contrast to Danny, who almost always approaches attractive women who clearly know how to present themselves.
Yeah, they almost look like plants. That's the other thing. You don't know if any of this data is legit. The black pill could be cherry-picking data to make himself look bad and make his point, and he could be cherry-picking good data. You don't know.
He obviously knows how to get 1.6 million subscribers.
Danny Damien photo. Kind of just seems like a thirst trap, if I'm being honest.
At least it's tasteful thirst trapping. Danny is also a much better photographer
It looks
than
like
Z.
it looks like a trap. Like, these don't look like real people you'd see on the street. Especially this. Yeah, these don't look real. These look like... Maybe not all of them are street photography. I assume most of them are probably plants, like here, stand here.
And that's relevant because Danny commonly opens by showing women his work before they say yes.
My name's Danny. I do free portraits for people. I make little videos. I was wondering if I could do a free portrait for you.
What would I need to do?
Here, I'll show you an example.
Those are nice.
Yeah, women like social media. That's another thing. You show them at social media. Oh, they're like, oh, Instagram, oh, TikTok. They all light up because they're all like fucking obsessed with that shit.
My name's Danny.
That
I'm
is not
a street
real.
photographer.
What is this, dude? This does not look real. She's not with anybody. She's just facing that and weird.
I was wondering if maybe I could do a portrait for you. For free?
Yeah, it looks like a plant. I don't trust that. I'm gonna err on the side of fake, but it's kind of irrelevant.
So you just sort of randomly takes them without time to consider lighting or framing or what the person's doing. Because of that, you get these kind of family photos where people are uncomfortably standing next to each other, so of course tons of women are going to say no. On the other hand, Danny takes his time, he makes sure to set everything up, and he gives people direction when they don't know what to do.
I don't know how to pose. I'm not very good at it.
I will do all the work.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Women like that shit. That's another thing they like. Like, you gotta recognize when they're frustrated. You say, let me handle everything. I gotcha. That is a good skill. Like, you can tell this guy just clearly has better people skills. Better than me. But I'm able to pick up on a few of the skills he uses because I use them myself occasionally. But yeah, one of them is like keeping your voice steady. Don't raise your voice. Don't say anything too loud. Try to diffuse things. Turn it into a joke. Gesticulate. Use your hands to demonstrate things. Not in a gay way, but like in a, I'm a human, I'm not a robot. Kind of move your shoulders, shift around. You want to make like 40% eye contact. I know that's a little bit autistic for me to say, but it's a good rule of thumb. It's like close to 50%, but not quite. And for me, I have like serious eyes. I have a very serious face, resting face, so I have to kind of artificially lighten up my features, which can come off a little fake, but you gotta do what you gotta do, right?
Yeah, fix your hair one more time.
Wait, was that Earthbound music in the background of that video? Did I mention that Danny's a huge nerd? I could have sworn in one of the videos I heard Sonic the Hedgehog music. But of course they're going to say yes.
Of course he would recognize Sonic. I don't play fucking Sonic.
When he can take pictures like this. Good pictures are like a status symbol to women because good photographers are hard to find. Professional photography is expensive, and Danny tells them that he will give them the pictures for free. And I will say that there's some very important information that Rehab Room did not show his audience, which was a
That's actually a really good point. Like, that's a really overpowered business, is like free photography. You get free content, free pictures, and then you build a free client base. All you have to do, the only problem is it takes time to set up. That would be the annoying part, is you could only do like maybe 20. You can't pump them out.
Getting rejected. It's not that hard to find. It's one of only a handful of videos that he's done that aren't shorts.
Excuse me. Could I do a couple photos for you too? It's free. I'll give it to you. Sure, no problem. I'm a photographer. I do free portraits for people. Could I? No? No thanks? All right, okay, never mind. Excuse me. This might be a little strange, but I was wondering if you'd like some pictures. It's free. Okay. No problem.
Look at their body language. Look at how disgusted those women were. So, doesn't that
They're just laughing. Oh, he's choking. Okay.
paint a much different picture? That Chad Light gets rejected too. He isn't just an instantly successful guy who women would let get away with anything. Remember that Rehab Room said that, by the way. Bro, even
That is true, as they act like there's no skill involved. There definitely is. It's not. It's like when people see a person who plays a video game, they're just like, wow, they win every game. It just must be so easy for them. It's like, well, not really. It's actually like I have to put in more work meticulously protecting every single win I get. Like, it's actually not that easy. It's actually more work once you're actually trying.
Chad gets rejected at the club a bunch before a woman says yes. Sure, it's a lot easier to get compliance from people when you're attractive, but it doesn't mean that you get to skip all the skill building. Nor does it mean that skill building is worthless for less attractive people. I doubt that Danny's success rate is still low these days because he can just say, look, I'm famous, but I bet when he got started, he got rejected all the time. Rejection is sales 101. Everyone who does sales has to get used to it. Even when he approaches...
It's not personal. That's the other part. You can get rejected and make it a positive outcome. There's a strategy in business called giving someone an out, which is... or not giving someone an out, which is when you want to force them down a certain path. But if you don't want to force them down a certain path, you kind of leave the options open so that they don't feel pressured and it's not awkward when they say no. Like, if you try to force, like, hey, take a picture, you're beautiful, take a picture, then it's awkward when they say no. So you want to kind of, like, leave it open and be kind of, almost act like you don't care about the outcome. Hey, I was noticing you guys look pretty good. I actually do professional photography. Any chance I could take some pictures for you guys? It's all free, right? Oh yeah, no worries, right? Have a nice day, right? Like, you just be chill, be relaxed. Hey, can I interest you in XYZ? I'm trying to sell some of these things. I think they're pretty great. XYZ. Oh yeah, no worries. Oh yeah, no worries. Take care. And then kind of laugh about it and share a story. Or rejection can be a good way. Like, if you take rejection well, it can be a good way to establish positive rapport with, like, the social network at large. Like, because it reflects back on your reputation. You're playing, like, a long-term game where it's like, you get rejected by a girl, you don't go, fine, well, fuck you, me, and run away, because they're going to tell their friends and you're going to look autistic and you're going to get a reputation, right? So it's not personal, right? Like, it's not ride or die. If they say no, you're like, who cares? Like, who cares?
And gets rejected in that video, he is still super calm the whole way through, which means he probably has had tons of practice of people saying no to him. On the opposite side of that, in most of the videos that I've seen of Z, who is a beginner, he sounds anxious and uncomfortable. Now, what if I told you that, contrary to what Rehab said, there are women who not only consent to having their photo taken by Z, but are happy about it as well.
Sorry to bother you guys. I'm Z. I'm a street photographer, and I take pictures of people. And I believe you all are looking amazing. Can I take two pictures of you?
Had their photo taken. Oh look, their hair is, and I don't know who that other guy was, but who am I to contradict customers who looked happy? Now, if you're going to make sweeping generalizations about people, then don't you think, for transparency's sake, it looks kind of bad when you only show Z's failures while also only showing Danny's successes? Danny has failed a lot, he just doesn't show it as often. Here's a comment from an older viewer saying that Danny is very awkward when he approaches people from somewhere around a year and a half ago. It looks like Danny ended up leaning into that, which gives him an awkward confidence that is socially desirable.
I'm like the most awkward person ever.
That's another thing, is like, everyone's awkward. Here's a little key. Everyone's awkward. Everyone's socially inept, right? More people than not are going to be awkward. Everyone knows what it's like to be rejected. Everyone knows what it's like to be in an awkward situation. What's the easiest way to diffuse an awkward situation? Is to address how it's awkward, make it relatable, and then make a joke about it and make them laugh. It's free content, right? So if you're in an awkward situation, you can alleviate the tension by making it like a human and relatable thing, right? Because chances are they're probably just as socially anxious as you, if not more so. As you get good at it, definitely more so. And you want to take like a leadership position, right? So you're like, I'm the one who's going to diffuse the situation, and I'm the one who's going to make this comfortable. And that kind of puts them at ease. They're like, oh, he knows what he's doing, he's trying to help out. And or even if it's just like a communal effort, like, you know, like a dual effort to make something less awkward. You know, like, I'll try to say something to make it less awkward, they'll chime in, and we kind of work together to get through an awkward conversation or an awkward lab report or an awkward presentation or whatever it is you got to do. Yeah, kind of. It's just like keep it light, keep it friendly, keep it. It's not hard. It's really not that hard. Really, the hard part is getting over the nerves and not saying something stupid, which I do all the time. I do say dumb things.
Well, you met the second most awkward person. I think you're a nervous person like me. Huh?
Oh yeah.
The other problem with this whole...
See what I mean? That's exactly what it is. Oh yeah, I have really bad anxiety. They share a joke. They both are on the same page. They both know that it's difficult. Like, that's perfect. That's a perfect example.
Situation is I don't entirely think that Danny is someone who Rehab Room would describe as a chat light. Rehab is one of those people who thinks that your life is basically over and a woman will never love you if you're under 6 foot tall, and Danny is 5'8", which is shorter than average.
Yeah, like the whole like Sigma Alpha characterization of guys where you have to be this like mewing stoic like dude all the time. That's not real life. Yeah, our Wi-Fi is bugging. We don't got Wi-Fi. But yeah, I found that very ironic. His big thing's like, oh, people don't do their research. He hasn't really demonstrated like proper research.
Things suck because women are bad, and they very seldom listen to the other side's reasoning for why they behave like they do. It's a major reason why
Yeah, he doesn't do it either. He just lumped 4 groups all together as one big monolithic identity. That makes so he's gonna complain about people not being, not actually taking the other side seriously. He's the worst of it. All he does is he slings mud at people he disagrees with, and then he uses like all of his arguments basically boil down to like, here's an anecdote of things going the way I want it to go. Here's an example of you doing it wrong. Here's me doing it right. Did you know that if you brush your hair, you'll actually be less ugly? You can just get a better job. Like, some of the most like wacky shit.
To myself from those communities. In the Black Pills case, this is particularly offensive because their entire moral argument is telling people to give up because they weren't...
He just tried to lump in all the other manosphere groups with the Black Pill, so he could attack the Black Pill and then attack the manosphere at large through this... There should be a name for this.
Born with the right genetics. They straight up tell people that nothing matters except for how you were born, and they have mantras like, never get up, which tells people to not try to change what they can. Don't go to the gym, don't work on your appearance, don't try to get a good job, don't work on your social skills. I mean, you're taking a bunch of depressed people, telling them that everything is doomed, and following that with don't try to improve your life. This is legitimately suicide fuel, and it's why I decided to make this video. Because oftentimes I see guys like this 35-year-old virgin who's a little down on his luck, but I've seen enough of his content to know that he looks fine, and if he just lost weight, socialized more, and stopped being a pushover, he would have no...
But you have to understand that even that, you're just to say, oh, just lose weight, bro. Yeah, not so simple. Not so simple for these types of people. Just lose weight. Just fucking get a 6-pack, dude. Just become a millionaire. Just progress in your career, bro. Just get a better job. And what I'm saying is most people don't have the character, they don't have the diligence, they don't have the perseverance, they don't have the motive, they don't have the intelligence, they don't have the structure, they don't have the lifestyle, they do not have the skills that they were given when they were raised. They are afflicted with pathologies and addictions and mental illness and weakness and stupidity and ignorance and a bad framework given to them by their stupid parents. And a lot of them are just kind of fucked. They can't even do that. So
no problem getting a girlfriend.
The darkest thing that, in my opinion, the Black Pill has done, okay, the worst thing that it's done, that like incel culture has done, is convince average men that it's over. And it's such a dark thing. Because like average to ugly men have like run the world for the past like 3,000 years.
Wow, that's really relevant. That's really relevant that as a giant group that, but not any more than the top 50%, right? Actually, probably less so. Because if we're talking about prehistoric society, the top 50% in attractiveness would be the strongest men, which would do the most work to actually help society, right? Because it'd be mostly like manual labor, whether it's hunting and gathering, whether it's picking up a spear and fighting for the Roman legion, whether it's... So actually no. So that's actually just incorrect, because the bottom 50% is going to be doing less labor and less contribution, so they're not going to be running the society. The top 50% is going to be doing more work than the bottom 50%. And you could say, well, he's talking about the bottom 95% have run society. And then at that point, you're basically saying, so the majority of men, the lower middle and working class have run society, and not really run society. They are the backbone of society. They've what kept society running. Okay, that's just obvious, right? That's just like a non-statement. Turns out the working slave class prop up society, and they're integral and valuable to society. Yeah, no shit. We know that.
More.
And so culture has done is convince average men that it's over. And it's such a dark thing. Because like average to ugly men have like run the world for the past.
No, that's not true. It's just not true. They haven't run the world in like a we control it way, and they haven't run the world in like we're busy running the infrastructure. It would actually be the top 50%. Because he made the distinction of average to below average, which is the bottom 50%. So the bottom 50% contrasted to the top 50% do not actually have a majority on the contribution to running society. It would actually be the top 50%. So that's just factually incorrect. But his argument is that, well, as a group, you contribute to society in a meaningful way. Which, who cares? I don't care about other... Like, if I was an incel and I was a ugly, one of these black pill guys, I would not care about the... I would not care about the group I'm in. There's no group loyalty or identity. It's like, hey, but as a group, you know, you can fix things, and as a group, you guys are the lifeblood of society, man. Who gives a fuck? Like, I want a girlfriend, I want a this, I want a that. I'm not thinking about this. It's just such a meaningless takeaway statement. Oh, but you ran society. So what, Tom Dark? What does that mean?
Like 3,000 years. The rulers of countries, of civilizations, the greatest artists, thinkers, thought leaders in the world have been like 5'8", kind of quote unquote fugly guys.
Yeah, well, but they weren't at the bottom of the sexual hierarchy. Yeah, they were shorter. Yes, average attractiveness has gone up. But relative to other men, basically where they sit in the social hierarchy, they were definitely not on the bottom of the list. Not at all. All the painters, all the musicians, they were the upper echelons. They were the elites. Actually, anybody notable in history, all the mathematicians, all the generals, all the leaders, all the religious leaders, all of the kings, obviously, all these figures you would talk about through history, they were definitely the upper echelons of society. They were definitely the elite. They were definitely being the most attractive, given reference to the peasant class. So this argument is just wrong. From the angle it's trying to go at, it's just wrong.
It's never really mattered. But there are people that would have you think that if you're...
Yeah, but well, and it does matter, because they would still be, even if they're 5'8", which is, because that's tall back then. That's what you don't understand, is height is relative. It's relative to other guys. You're measured on a percentile, right? So, and that's how, because that's how women sort and organize men into hierarchy. And other men organize into hierarchy. So this just doesn't make sense.
You're under 6 foot, you're totally and can never breed, and no woman will ever be capable of loving you. Like I don't. It's like insane.
And then he connected that to a completely different random argument, which I do agree that you don't have to be 6 feet to breed, but sure as fuck helps. Say that.
Nobody, outside of the weight, it seems like most of his problem is that he's socially awkward, but you can fix that. I've also watched enough of
glasses are pretty
that he
big.
was a former alcoholic. Imagine where he would be if he had gotten into the black pill. He'd still be drunk every day or worse. And who knows, maybe he was black pilled and finally woke up in his 30s. But how many years of his life did that waste? So there are plenty of guys out there who are perfectly fine like King Nobody, or there are guys that are on their glow-up arc who angry black pillars are trying to poison into giving up. What's this commenter's problem? This guy's going to do just fine finding a relationship, and during the video, he talks about going on dates with women.
What do they mean
who like him.
over?
Sure,
Oh, it's over, bro. Stop saying that. What does that mean? What do you mean it's over? I'm never gonna get a girl? What specifically does that mean?
He's really awkward in front of the camera, but he can fix 90% of that problem by just sitting down or by learning how to properly frame a shot. Now, of course, there are people who are further back than others or way further back, but telling them to give up instead of figuring out how to make do with what
I hate how men don't brush their hair. I hate how men have like hair sitting on their forehead. I know you're trying to cover up the fact that you're balding, but it just looks like shit.
they have will only make them more miserable, which will make their lives worse and push them towards ending it. You may have not been born under the best circumstances, but you can always work with those circumstances to create a life that you're happy with. Going back to the video clips of Danny, it's not just him saying he's short.
This is what I mean about think before you sleep. He's so autistic. He'll just attack the entire philosophy of the black pill. You know, you can just work with what you got and, you know, try to build something out of what you have. And just because you have bad cards doesn't mean it's over.
You can see that he's the same height as Destiny as he stands next to other people.
Could I ask you something? Yeah. Which of these two photographers do you think is better? One guy, tall, handsome, obviously very fit. This other guy, other than like, I guess a good jawline, he looks kind of nerdy, kind of shrimpy.
With that in mind, let's watch this next clip that Rehab responded to.
Thanks. Lighting equipment.
Dude, emo chicks.
They're gonna kidnap him. Yeah.
They are gonna kidnap him for drinks, guys.
Yeah, but she's a sex worker, dude. That's what they do. Is their job is flirting.
When did it ever happen to you? Or to even average guy, not even you, but for the woofy as well. Like, woofis are going to Japan to pay 500, 600 just to have a chance to have a drink with them. That is the difference. And
You can pay $50, dude. You can pay $50 in some spots. It's not that expensive.
these two chicks here are so DTF. So DTF. Both of them. He could have hit them both at the same time.
This guy's salivating. Like, Jesus Christ, dude. These girls are, like, clearly STD ridden. Like, fucking Christ.
So this is missing some context from yet another thing that would be easy to research. If you see any of Danny's videos on camera, which I imagine Rehab Room would have looked up because he's rating Danny's appearance.
He's got a good appearance. He looks good. He's got his hair done right. He's got a decent jaw. He's not fat. He's definitely got a smaller physique. And don't do that. That looks feminine and gay. Yeah, he looks like a bit of a twink. So he needs to kind of bulk up a little bit. But he's got a good start.
Then it is very apparent that he is very feminine. I was actually shocked to hear that he wasn't gay because I instantly thought that the second I saw him, and I had to watch hours of content to find out that he wasn't. So when you see these women saying...
You can weaponize that though. Even the gay, like, because the gay guys get women flocking around them because the women feel comfortable around them. So, like, basically what women want is they want a dichotomy of a human to work with. They want the alpha male brute, and they want him to have like a feminine side that makes them like attracted. They're like, oh look, he's got a soft side. He likes doing wood carvings of ducks and animals. Oh look, that's so cute. I can help him with that. I can tame him, right? And then, but it's also the opposite is true with like feminine guys. If you're a more feminine guy, but you can like create, what you need to do as a more feminine guy is you need to manifest like a masculine element that kind of like gives you your rising arc. Like I'm on my like masculine arc. Like this is my masculine passion that I'm transcending to or something, right? So like you can work with it. Like there's stuff you can do. It's not over.
You're so cute, we're gonna steal you away for some drinks. As they hug a stranger despite living in what looks like a city, it is likely that they're doing that and are open to him not because they're attracted to him, but because they think he's gay and not a threat. And also, he just gave that girl a bunch of free professional quality photos, which
No,
can
it's
be
'cause they're working
expensive.
girls, dumbass.
I'm not saying that this is the reason, but it's frustrating to watch video after video from Rehab Room where there's only one answer to every question. Everything is about appearance. Women don't like you? Well, it's because you're a...
Rehab Room. Did he finally slip the name? Oh, I saw this guy. This is the lust-induced cringe max syndrome person. That's hilarious. Okay.
Sub-5 male. You suck at PlayStation? That's because adults didn't give you enough positive reinforcement as a kid because you were too ugly. Rehab Room is very much a one-trick pony, and this is very lazy analysis of a problem. But despite Danny's shortcomings, despite being awkward, despite being below average in height, he still makes it work, and as far as I can see, it works very well. This guy has no difficulty getting some very attractive women to pay attention to him. But just in case you still don't think that social skills are important, here's a guy impressing women that I'm sure that Rehab Room would say is not attractive, nor is he tall, as he's almost the same height as Emiru, who is 5'3".
Can I hold your hand for the shirt?
Yes.
A little bit closer, like right here.
Oh my, yes.
As you can see.
Well, okay, but they're just depraved and deprived. Depraved and deprived. Because everyone around here is like a fucking dweeb. So, I do not like anime. So I do not allow this example. Anime people are weird.
What?
The impressed Miru would have called the police on him just for being in the same room because he's not a Chad. I'll wait for one of the 5 counter-arguments that black pillars seem to exclusively use.
Given DBDR, solid, good...
What is DBDR? Oh. Document zips, like by timestamps. Yeah, I just, anime people are weird. That's my counter-argument. I don't count that. They're not real people.
Genuine advice is as effective as trying to teach your dog to speak English. It'll usually just result with him thinking you're either A, a gaslighting normie, B, coping, C, someone who hasn't watched enough of his videos and wouldn't understand, D, a boomer who doesn't understand current times, or E, Chad Stacy that could never understand.
This guy did his research. This is basically every black pillar that I've seen respond.
Okay, this is gay, and Think Before You Sleep does this every time. He says, any opinion he likes, he just says, oh, you did your research. What research? Please show me the study that this guy did to prove that he did more research. He's basically just saying, oh, I agree with this person's perspective. He did more research. No, that's not what that means. So, yeah, it's kind of annoying. I think he's just throwing the word research around. Like, oh, this guy did his research. That guy did his research. More research. It's like, can you demonstrate that?
Criticism. They love to dismiss alternative opinions with non-arguments. They love to say things like, you're too old to understand the dating market, things have changed. This is despite the pure irony of them trying to explain complex relationship issues without ever having been in a relationship. So I'll wait as they cry anecdote on the magician guy, despite the fact that the vast majority of evidence they use for their points is anecdotes, while at the same time the non-anecdotal research they use tends to be...
That's also ironic. This whole video is a big compilation of anecdotes.
Very bad proof of their points. Moving on, I find it so ironic that Rehab Room considers himself well-researched when he constantly uses a univariate analysis to describe every problem in life.
Univariate analysis, basically saying one variable. Sounded super cool, but...
It's actually annoying to watch as a viewer, while he basically makes the exact same video over and over again with the same conclusion every single time. And he also uses the same 5 clips of David Goggins or cringe PUAs in every video.
What is the point of David Goggins? That's something I actually don't know. Like, why is David Goggins a thing? Like, what's his point? Like, what is he trying to prove? What is his goal? I don't really like David Goggins from the sense that I don't know what he stands for, other than just, like, being a masochist. Which is great. You need more of that. We need more masochism in men, so they go do hard things, right? Yeah. But, I actually don't really know like why did he go from like a carpet cleaner, 300 pounds, to this? What happened? To a Marine? Like, what happened to this guy? And like why? Like what's it all? Does he have a family? Does he? Like what was this all for? I don't really know.
Straight up no variation in his content. I had to have watched around 30 videos that were all the same. Here's a person in my story. Is he attractive? No? Well, then his life sucks and nothing will ever get better.
This is something generally I don't like, which even Think Before You Sleep is guilty. Here is people pick easy targets to make like slam dunk content. People never allow for opposing viewpoints to be... They don't allow for loose threads or loose ends in their videos because they don't want to ever be challenged on anything in the YouTube comment section. So they'll always pick, like, Undead Chronic does this too. He'll pick like really easy, like, oh look, it's a single mother, guys. They're bad. It's like, yeah, no shit, yes. Single mother's bad, yep. Haitian immigrants eating cats, yes, that's not good. We don't like those. Like the best videos for Chronic was like where he attacked Jordan Peterson. That was like the best video. #1, hands down, best video we ever did. For me at least. Then he attacked Tate, which was actually really good because a lot of people supported him. And but yeah, a lot of even Think Before You Sleep's doing this right now. He's like picking a like black pill doomer. And he's like, look how basic he is. It's like, you brought up all the other... he's tiptoeing around the actual, like, manosphere. He's like, oh, look, ma manosphere, ma red pill, ma MGTOW. And then he's playing in the corner with the black pillars, because they're easy to bully. It's like, no, come back over here to the red pill, where there's actually some people who will fucking take you down, won't put up with your shit. No, he's busy bullying the black pillars. And yeah, I don't like black pillars either, dude. Like, I'm not gonna sit there and defend fucking black pillars. Fucking doomer ass attitude. Get out of here. But yeah, generally I want to not be that type of content creator. I want to be someone who invites opposing perspectives and invites complexity. Not tries to present a slam dunk, I'm gonna win, no one's ever gonna disagree with me because this is so based. I don't want to be that guy.
Here's a different person who is attractive. His life is on easy mode, I'm jealous, and I want him to suffer.
The other day I was at a sneaker store, and the kid working there, the sales associate guy, was some 8 out of 10 pretty boy. Like a legit good blend of neo-tennis future.
Yeah, you know what it is? It's like white envy. This guy's not that attractive. Did he take a picture of him? What the fuck? Or is he just using a random reference picture? Because this would be fucking creepy. The guy in the back give consent? Yeah, he's pretty good face, but he's not jacked, right? But I think this is just a reference photo.
And masculine creatures. Compact mid-face, youthful baby face, but also a good jawline, good hair, good eye area. And stuff.
Are black pillars gay? Like, is that the answer? Is that what's going on? They're all just like ogling over like the geometry of a dude's face. That's the black pill. Is you just like do geometry about a guy's butt cheeks? Like, it's fucking gay.
And just
like women, I don't think women care as much about. You're actually the shallow ones. Ironically, you're the. Because I don't think women really care that much. I don't think women are that obsessive and that autistic about whether or not he has a positive canthal tilt or a negative canthal tilt, or like what's the symmetrical difference between his eyes and his lip and his belly button. If it's a symmetrical ratio or not, like, I don't think women are thinking that hard, nor do they only look at that.
From the way he was smiling when he was talking to me, just from
and they just come across gay because they obsess about like masculine features. They just seem gay.
His manners. I could tell that he was genuinely happy about his life. It wasn't a fake expression that he puts on for customers. He probably got some action that morning, only a few hours ago.
This is really gay. Like, this is really gay. Even just like, oh, this guy probably had sex. I bet it was great. I bet he enjoyed the sex. Probably really steamy sex. That's probably why it's just fucking gay.
You know, I can't tell. I couldn't help but feel an immense sense of jealousy right there and then. I wanted to
They're
be like,
cucks, bro. Yeah, he's a cuck. This guy's an open cuck. He's like getting excited about how jealous he was earlier. Oh yeah, he probably banged that girl right there over there in the corner of the store. Yeah, he would totally get her, and I could never get her. It's like fucking gay cuck shit. What the fuck is this?
like, dude, wipe that smile off your face. You are
You're the one
annoying,
smiling.
but of course, you can't say that. Manners don't allow that. Bro, I don't like people that are too happy and positive.
That's
It's like cucks. It's just like cucks. I just get cuck vibes. Doomer cuck vibes.
sad on his part and also kind of sociopathic. But going back to standards of proof for their arguments, Rehab Room's content is full of research blunders, including using the same study multiple times to come to the wrong conclusion.
It is a statistical fact that
I saw the video for this, actually. I know where they got that screenshot. Certain groups of men date multiple women at the same time. Yeah, maybe. I don't really think so. I think, yeah, there's probably breaks between age gaps or age brackets. More likely, I think women are probably more likely to report being in a relationship when they're not. Because you can't really make like it's only the top 5% argument, because it's clearly not, right? We're operating in the majority here with 30% and 60%. So this is the majority of people. This isn't, the top 5% are sharing the women. It's like, no. That's not the case.
most women consider 80 to 90% of men to be below average in looks. So there is a little difference if you are a 5 or a 6. Expandable.
I told you these people always have to use that OkCupid study. But really, statistical fact, he's going to make a strong claim like that from a study that was missing basic crucial information like how many people were in it? I don't know where this claim on the right comes from or this middle graph because he doesn't cite the sources for them as far as I can tell. But let's pretend the numbers are real despite not being able to verify them. Do you notice anything?
Well, this is like
Women
a
don't
data
really give much-
collage. This isn't meant to be like a scientific report. Like, you're doing scientific critique on like YouTube videos. Think before you sleep. You're putting academic standards, which I'm not actually sure you have either. Because what did you do? You did a bachelor's in fucking dieting. What'd you do? Right? Like you did. I don't even know what he did. I can't remember. There's some goofy ass thing that he doesn't even do now. Doesn't even use. Nutrition, I think it was. But you're applying like academic statistical standards to black pill YouTube videos. Like, just give up.
Of a response to anyone. Even the top guys only got about as much attention as the bottom 20 to 30% of women. To explain that, for one, you have to rule out all the coomers that message women on these apps asking for nudes, which is not an insignificant number. Obviously, women aren't going to respond to those. Second,
why does he feel the need to... Oh, there's creepy guys that ask for nudes. Yeah, okay, thanks. I don't know how that's relevant.
And other pursuers of the relationship, so of course they're going to show more interest in women. That's men's job. Women aren't supposed to approach men, they are supposed to be approached, so they're only going to do that for guys if they are above their level. Third, how were these numbers obtained? What were the population sizes of the male and female groups in the study? Did they check how many profiles the men swiped through versus how many profiles the
I think
women?
this study is actually a simulation. It's not real. I'm pretty sure it was based off of like aggregating data from the various from Tinder, from Grindr, from a bunch of the different apps. It aggregated the data and then it compressed it into a simulation, and then this is simulated data. I don't think this is actual real data.
Swipe through? Did they rule out female bots or profiles that are used to promote OnlyFans? Did they account for the fact that way more men use these apps than women, so of course they're going to get less attention and less likes?
I think they did.
So
I think they did. I think there was certain things equalized, because that's why they kind of kind of ran a simulation so that they could equalize certain factors that would ruin the study.
Chart is evidence that a 3 out of 10 guy would not get attention.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the video, but I do remember watching this like some 5-6 months ago.
From a 3 out of 10 girl if he asked her out in person, which, by the way, is an area where he's not competing with 2 other guys, if not more, because a lot of the female accounts are bots. Have you ever tried going outside before and asking a woman out in person like a man? Grow a pair.
Jeez, man. Jeez, like, aggressive. Who are you dating, think, before you sleep? Who's your fiance? Oh, wait, she left you. Oh, no, we split. Oh, it was mutual. It was mutual. Oh, sure, bro. It was mutual. There's no such thing as a mutual breakup. It's not a real thing. It's not a real thing. So she broke up with you because you would never break up with her. She broke up with you because you wanted sex and she wouldn't give it. So she got rid of you. So you're going to go around and grow a pair and you're going to start bullying and slinging massive amounts of ad hominem mud at random black pill YouTubers, and you call that good research, you call that good argumentation. That's what I mean.
So, welcome to research. You can't just look at the numbers. You have to critically think about how those numbers were obtained and what might be the reasoning for them.
He's in his like salty goy arc. You know what I mean? He's just bullying random black pillars online. This looks really bad.
Files the men swipe through. Did they account for the fact that way more men use these apps than women? So of course they're going to get less attention and less likes. So I don't think this chart is evidence that a 3 out of 10 guy would not get attention from a 3 out of 10 girl if he asked her out in person. Which, by the way, is an area where he's not competing with 2 other guys, if not more, because a lot of the female accounts are bots. Have you ever tried going outside before and asking a woman out?
Yeah, I don't know what to say because I've never asked a 3 out of 10 woman out on a date in person. I don't talk to women that are below 5s. I don't talk to like used up, ugly, obese women. I just don't. So yeah, I don't know what to say. He's basically saying, why don't you try in person? Well, I'm not hearing all these amazing success stories from guys who try out in person. It's also like, where can you actually date now? You're not allowed to date at work. Nobody goes to church anymore. I don't know.
Person like a man? Grow a pair. So, welcome to research. You can't just look at the numbers. You have to critically think about how those numbers were obtained and what might be the reasoning for them. But as I've shown in this video, this is not an isolated incident. Rehab Room pretty frequently makes wild claims based on studies he clearly hasn't criticized or tried to break. I've already gone over a couple of them in this video, so I'll just give one more example.
His whole like content strategy is piss off person X, start beef, and then just like dog them and bully them.
Here, because this one led to the most ridiculous conclusion that I saw him make. And not to say that I've gone through every study that Rehab has posted, but the ones I have were just garbage proof of what point he was trying to make, and he makes a ton of assumptions. I mentioned before that black pillars believe that everything is genetic and luck-based, and here's Rehab flat out saying that everything is luck.
Luck is everything. That's why I like Harvey Dent Carpenter. He has that famous line, "This life is cruel. In a cruel world like this, the only morality is luck." It really is. The only morality of this world we live in is...
Problem with that is there's actually no such thing as luck. Randomness is a lie. It all breaks down to patterns. Once you remove the randomness, you're left with patterns, which, yeah, the world is defined by patterns. Problem is the real answer is you don't have a whole lot of agency over the patterns that govern your outcomes. That's the real answer, is that you don't have agency. When you're born to a single mother and your father beats you every day and dents your face in, and now you have a drug addiction because everyone in your school smoked fucking meth and marijuana, and now you're fucked and your whole life's down the shitter. Those are all factors outside of your control that the average human really is not going to magically manifest the character and the resolve to not engage in that kind of degenerate negative spiral. So those factors are all out of your control. Nothing you can do about that. That's the real black pill, is that most people don't really have agency over the larger factors that influence their life. And the actual agency they do have is like fairly predictable. It's fairly limited, it's fairly predictable. We kind of know what someone who comes from a low income background is going to do 95% of the time.
It's luck. Pure, sheer, blind luck.
But it's not random.
What matters in life,
It's definitely
what
not random.
truly matters,
It's not
you
luck.
cannot change. And what you can change doesn't matter all that much. Your entire life was determined the moment you were born.
Like I said,
Like this, the only morality is luck. It really is. The only morality of this world we live in is luck. Pure, sheer, blind luck. What matters in life?
No, it's systematic. I will agree that most of it's determined by things outside your control, but it's not luck.
What truly matters, you cannot change. And what you can change doesn't matter all that much.
And then they always do this. They like compare themselves to other guys because they're gay. Yeah, they're like gay. They go into like 4chan posts with like naked shirtless guys to like feel sad. They probably jack off to these. Like why are you comparing yourself to random steroid users? This doesn't make any sense. He could... that's a pretty big pec for not steroids. That's a pretty big pec for not steroids. Probably steroids. That could be... that looks fine. That looks legit. I mean, this is pretty much my physique, minus the abs. And he has a bit of a better back. His arms are actually like pretty small though. Like from this angle, they should be bigger. Let me have a look. Yeah, they should be a lot bigger. What the fuck? My arms are proportionally probably bigger than his. What the fuck? Yeah, he looks semi-plausible. This does not look super plausible, frankly. Unfortunately. Maybe though. Maybe. You don't know though. Some people, they just have like crazy body composition and then boom, they just... That's the thing, you don't know. My point being is they're freaks. These are freaks. These are not the average person. The average person does not look like this. So why are you setting these as a standard to compare yourself against when... Yeah, I don't know.
The entire life was determined. The moment you were born.
like I said, these are the same things that woke people believe. You can't ever succeed because you were born black in the wrong part of town. Same shit, different day. How demoralizing. Why would anyone ever fix themselves after hearing this? Anyway, Rehab believes so much that everything is luck that he makes this argument.
Even hard work is genetic. That is what a lot of people...
Okay, they are kind of right. They are right in the sense that certain factors like conscientiousness and your ability to like focus and do work and self-discipline, and a lot of it's taught too. It's not even genetic. It's like stuff that your parents either inflict upon you or like gift you with, which is out of your control. Yeah, I'm a determinist, so I don't really believe in agency the way most people would see it. Like, I would redefine agency as the kind of the conscious coalescing of different factors that are calculated under a biological organism that coalesce into a single final decision. That's agency. It's not like a random, arbitrary, do whatever you want, pick and choose your own adventure kind of agency. So most of this is true. Hard work is genetic. But yeah, at some point you also got to do something about it. And it's kind of like, it's using the different things that you have access to better yourself, right? So it's like taking advantage of what you do have. And that's kind of the thing, is like, you have more than you think you have access to. And if you like actively frame your mind in a way that is all like doomer and all like, oh, I'm never gonna get any better and my life is shit and I'm gonna compare myself to like jacked supermodels all day and jerk off crying because I'm a cuck or something, then yeah, you're not gonna get anywhere in life with that kind of mindset, with that kind of attitude, right? So you need to change the way you think about things and go with adopt a more opportunistic approach where you optimize around doing what you can with what you have, with what you do have, and being realistic with what you do have. That's kind of more it is, doing what you can with what you have.
Holy shit, I cannot believe he just said that. What isn't genetic to these people? Are they going to say that accents are genetic now? Because I know they love to complain about how they can't get a girl because they talk like a foreigner. So if you're going to say that hard work is genetic, then you better have some very strong proof, because this sounds like obese people blaming their genetics because they don't understand how calories in versus calories out works. I can't work hard.
You could argue obesity is genetics. You could argue, but here's how I would argue it: is it's indirectly related to genetics, because if you grow up in a white trash or a urban city, but it's not really genetics; it's more like environment. Yeah, so it wouldn't be genetics. But my point was going to be that based on the kind of culture you're born into, so yeah, it wouldn't be genetics. My bad, but it could be due to things outside of your control, like what environment you're born into, what culture you're born into, and kind of like the quality of parenting growing up.
I have the wrong genes.
I think
In
parenting
the
plays a
past,
big role.
laziness has already been linked to some genetic factors, but there is actually a more comprehensive study made about this in 2021, using and comparing 2,000 Japanese student subjects.
This is true.
Now, I might watch
Conscientiousness is genetic. Yeah, that's what he's relating it to. Conscientiousness. Yeah, this is true. But it doesn't quite mean what
A lot of
he's saying.
videos from Rehab Room, but I've yet to see him mention what he does for a living or what his field of study was in school. But I will say
That's
that
right ironic, because didn't you do nutrition?
better have a background in genetics and psychology if you're going to accurately fact-check this study to the extent that you can make the strong claim that you made. Though considering how bad he's been with all the other research, I seriously doubt it. But whether he does or not, surely he wouldn't quote directly from the abstract multiple times.
Without boring you guys with the details, I will just share the important lines from that study. I quote, "Univariate genetic analysis revealed that individual differences in conscientiousness measures were moderately attributable to additive genetic factors, to an extent from 62 to
What is it
64."
saying? I am not a psychologist. I'm not a genetic biologist. Using a genetically informative design of about 2K twin pairs, we investigated the phenotypic and genetic and environmental architecture of a broad construct of conscientiousness, which I don't think they can do. That's very hard to do. This first sentence is already shaky because they don't have a good definitive model for conscientiousness within the genetic and phenotypic like data. It's hard to understand what translates genetics wise into conscientiousness. They don't really know. They only have like rough models based on like evidence, like reverse engineering. Okay, so these 4 different measures were substantially correlated. The coefficients range from, that's quite high, 0.74, that's pretty high. Univariate genetic analysis revealed that individual differences in conscientiousness measures were moderately attributive to additive genetic factors to an extent. I don't know what that means. So univariate genetic analysis revealed that. So basically when you look at one specific gene at a time and revealed that individual differences in conscientiousness were moderately attributed to additive genetic factors. We obtained no evidence that shared environmental influences were observed. So, okay, but this abstract doesn't go into enough detail to explain what was causing the correlation in conscientiousness. They just say it's got some genetic factors to it that we were able to parse out. This does not say that it is definitively genetic and nothing else.
We obtained no evidence that shared environmental influences were observed.
So, about scientific studies, just because they say we obtain no evidence doesn't mean it's definitively not X. It just means that they did not observe or find X. Could be because they weren't looking for X. Could be because they're doing a univariate analysis on a specific gene. Multivariate showed that for the 4 measures, so what were the 4? Effort control, self-control, grit, and conscientiousness. Okay. Used to assess conscientiousness. Genetic correlations were stronger than the corresponding non-shared environmental correlations. But once again, it's also very hard to measure environmental correlations. But the individual differences in the 4 measures are not distinguishable at both the phenotypic and behavioral. Well, here's kind of the problem is they're basically, it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy in the sense that they're creating a genetic model to try to predict conscientiousness, and then when they use that model, it aligns more with the model than the environment. Which would make sense if the genetic model was specifically reverse engineered to sort for conscientiousness. We obtained no evidence that shared environmental influences were observed.
Where genetic analysis showed that for the 4 measures used to assess conscientiousness, genetic correlations were stronger than the corresponding non-shared environmental correlations.
Great, so we have Noah Sampson levels of research here. The abstract is just a summary of the
you
important
need to go
findings.
into more
It's
detail.
not the study. Anyone who says, I read a study and quotes directly off the abstract should be laughed at. So many YouTubers do this to pretend they know how to read research, when in reality, the study is in the methodology and the results sections, not the abstract. Now surely the remaining material that he uses isn't just him parodying exact quotes that come directly from the discussion section, is it? Oh wait, he does do that. Seriously, I'm not even a scientist and I have to go around teaching everyone research methodology. Which means all these YouTubers
You know,
are
he took like
failing at
one
this
course in
editing.
research methodology during his nutrition class. Now he thinks he's an expert. He took one course. Guaranteed this fucker took one course. Probably did like a 3rd year, 2nd year level course. And now he thinks he's an expert because his fucking prof yelled at him the whole time. And now he thinks he's like rate serious and rate tough on research ethics.
Beginner level.
Like, these people are insufferable. Like, go work for a research board. Oh wait, you don't actually have a degree.
Rehab, you're supposed to be the expert here, which means your discussion of the study to your audience should include your thoughts on how the terms were defined, their methodology, and the results they got. The discussion section is their interpretation of the results, which should be read, but if you have not received adequate training in that field to give your interpretation of how they collected that data, then you should not be using this study as proof of your argument. Researchers make mistakes constantly, and their methods and results should not be trusted blindly. Not to mention, the biggest eye roll here is that after Rehab Room reads out direct quotes from the study without translating any of it into common language, he calls his audience stupid. Is there any self-awareness here? You essentially spend the remaining...
That's literally what you do. That's literally what you do. You literally just spent like 20... The actual irony is like astonishing. You just spent 20 minutes making fun of people for not knowing how to do research, and YouTubers for being so bad with research, and then, wow, this is weird. This is like deja vu. Like, am I going crazy?
Danger of that video after the study, saying that many of your viewers are too stupid to reap the benefits of hard work, and yet you think they know what a genetic intercorrelation is, or a polygenetic factor, or even what the word conscientious means. I really think the reason that he didn't elaborate more on this study is because he didn't actually understand it either. But what a shock, an internet researcher doing bad research. Okay, now full disclosure, I am not a trained geneticist, so I'm not going to be able to fact check absolutely everything in this study. However, I do know a bit about psychology and biology, so I have a few comments. First and foremost, this study was an online survey. Like, it was just a questionnaire of mothers of identical and fraternal twins, followed by a personality test. When I watched this video from rehab, I thought they were full-on taking DNA samples of genes that they had already linked to the ability to work hard, and seeing if they could predictably link them to test subjects who were hard workers. That's a way that you might be able to obtain strong evidence here. But in reality...
They might have. You don't know that they didn't. Oh, did they not? Oh. I thought they, like, used that along with genetic research data where they analyzed genes. Wait, valid completed were obtained from a total. Yeah, it looks like they do. Looks like they do.
All they did was say, hey, are you a mother of twins? Yes? Okay, we'll take this online survey and we'll give you some shopping money. This was all self-reported data, obtained in the financially cheapest way possible. The ironic part of this is that Rehab Room almost constantly tells his audience to not trust self-reported data, particularly from women.
You see women do it all the time. They say, oh, I just like how fun he is. He just happens to be 6'4". Women state that, say that it is the kindness they find most attractive in men. Like, you be the judge whether it is the truth.
Hey, I recognize that study. It's the one with the huge population size from the Noah Samson video. Though this looks like yet another study that Rehab Room didn't actually take the time to read, because he definitely would have used data from it that shows women saying they prefer an attractive face over an attractive body, because that fits his confirmation bias. So you're welcome for that. More interesting, let's look at the section about height. It says that about 10% of women said they didn't care about height, 80% said the guy only had to be taller than them, and only 10% of women said he had to be much taller. So it's not over for every guy who's not 6'10". All you have to do is be taller, so go find a woman who would...
Or just ignore this entire survey because it's what women say. And look at what they do, not what they say. So I would just throw this entire study in the garbage. Bye-bye. Because it's a survey. And surveys don't mean shit.
...shorter than you. It should be easy because
like
women...
every woman could say, oh, actually, we really want 5'3" guys. That doesn't help 5'3" guys. It's not going to magically... What this survey shows and tells us is not going to change women's behaviors, right?
Women are like 4 inches shorter than men on average. But find that woman in real life. Back to the hard work study. Like I said, it was just an online survey where they ran a couple of questionnaires.
This guy's brutal.
And
He
did some
slings
predictive
blood every
math
3
as far as I
seconds.
can understand. Which begs the question of, how in the hell were they able to gauge the importance of environmental factors? The best they can do is measure common experiences like, do you play sports? But it's not like they're going to little Timmy's soccer practice. Wait, they're Japanese. It's not like they're going to little Daisuke's soccer practice and seeing how the coach interacts with the players.
Why the fuck was that relevant? That was like quasi, I don't know what the fuck.
The team dynamic is, so their ability to truly measure environmental factors here is almost non-existent. Even with that in mind, they still didn't say it was a guarantee that it was genetic, and you're screwed if you don't have the right genes. Now, I don't know how to calculate these numbers, so I'm going to give Rehab Room heavy amounts of charitability and assume they're all correct. Even if they are right, it's still not a guarantee, which I point out because Rehab Room not only put up a graphic saying it's genetic, he also said it several times during the video.
This is a brutal BP, guys. Even hard work is genetic. Guys, the more we learn about human anatomy and genetics, the more understanding we have, it turns out that hard work is also genetic. If you are not hardworking, that is fine. Don't blame yourself. Because guess what? Even hard work is genetic.
I will caveat and say that he does spend about half a second at the beginning saying that this is not a guarantee, and later he says it's only one study, but he insists that hard work is genetic so many times that nobody in the audience is going to remember that he initially introduced doubts. I didn't until I had watched the video multiple times. It doesn't matter if you give the disclaimer of, there's doubt in this, if you just end up saying there's no doubt in it a bunch of times later in the video. Last but not least, I do happen to know that psychological traits that are measured by the Big 5 aspects test, like conscientiousness, can change with age. By the way, just for familiarity, the Big 5 aspects test is that survey that Jordan Peterson promotes all the time. Maybe this will help some people stay on the same page here, but more importantly, the researchers note that conscientiousness, as in the trait that Rehab Room was relating to hard work, can change.
There's also no definitive definition for conscientiousness, at least on a genetic level. So you would have to make it up. What you define conscientiousness on a genetic phenotypical level, you would have to make up for your survey. There's no like, oh, this gene controls conscientiousness. It's like a general abstract behavior. What you would do is you would survey a bunch of people, you'd find out which ones are more conscientious than not. You would then like plot that against what their genetic architecture is, and then you would like reverse engineer that into what the model for conscientiousness would be, but it would be based off random data, and there's no uniform like, oh, this is what we know it's made up, like it's by the study.
With age, it's right there in the study, Rehab. Seriously, how does this happen every time? We have Ludwig, Noah Samson, Ethan is Online, Illymation, and now Rehab Room making mistakes that are easy to not make if they just read the shit they were citing. You don't even have to think or have a background in the field, they just tell you. They also tell you multiple times in the study that these things are just related and they're not a guarantee. And when you say over and over again that hard work is genetic, when the study doesn't say that, it makes you look stupid. That's why you should have a more reserved opinion when you cover this stuff, so you don't unintentionally mislead your audience. So we have a study that says there are strong genetic correlations to conscientiousness, or what Rehab Room defines as hard work, but the study barely does anything to determine if environmental factors were what was actually affecting levels of conscientiousness, probably because doing so would be prohibitively expensive or impossible to study. And for the most part, this is why I hate these kinds of studies in the biological sciences. They are dog shit, and yet people keep doing them. They keep taking complex factors that we have nowhere near the technology to investigate and try to break them down into something that's cheap and easy to study.
Yeah, if you're going to do a little gay question online survey and you're not going to even do like any kind of genetic investigation, yeah, like just give up. Yeah, it's a gay study. You're right.
But has a very large possibility of being inaccurate. I know this is how drugs are made, but drugs fail or don't do what they're supposed to all the time. And more importantly, drugs go through clinical trials before there's any policy recommendation, whereas plenty of influencers will say the most wild shit based on a random study that says something like, material A increases material B, therefore material A makes you live longer, ignoring the fact that there are like 20 other materials or factors that affect material B, as well as affect longevity. Nutrition scientists do this shit constantly, and it is very frustrating. It's so frustrating.
He talks way too fast. Like he's like, the way he structures his, he's just like a constant stream of words. Like you never get to stop an idea, slow down, think about it, ingest it, and he's just like, well, actually, this is bad research because what you see here is this guy doesn't know how to do research because point A plus point B doesn't necessarily eat point C because maybe it's actually point E that was coming in and leading to more point C. This is why you need to do your research and da-da-da-da-da. It's just slow down, dude.
Coffee enthusiasts explaining why this kind of science is mostly dumb.
So someone made a video saying, skip coffee.
I love how for all of his arguments, think before you sleep, just like eventually it just boils down to an anecdote. He's like, here's an anecdote of why your anecdote's wrong.
Because it will cause you to spike your cortisol and therefore put on body fat. And he makes the point that first part is true, coffee spikes cortisol, but if you actually look at the randomized control trials, that isn't what you see.
We're back. Fucking Wi-Fi. This is true. Coffee increases hair growth. 100% true.
Clearly ridiculous. Or is it?
Or is it?
The message.
Yeah, or is it? We don't know. But he has nice hair for a 50, however old this guy is, and I have nice hair.
The whole video is be skeptical of simple mechanisms impacting complex kind of outcomes.
So with all that said, I really just don't like how demoralizing black pill creators are. I very much think they're taking a bunch of average people who have low self-esteem, but actually aren't that bad, and making their self-esteem far worse by telling them that most women hyper-focus on things that they don't actually hyper-focus on. Sure, appearance is important, but rehab will have you thinking that if you're not a Chad, then you should just give up because your life is over.
How do you see this facial expression, this cringing out of my mind face being given to you, and you can still keep doing this? Bro, just sit on your behind and play some video games. That is what you gotta do. That would be a lot more productive. And look at his bio. Oh, life is all about creativity. No, brother, you have been sold a lie. Life is all about looks, ain't about creativity, which you had to find out the hard way. He isn't the rat. He would be better off if he spent that time looking at a wall, looking at a brick wall. He would have saved himself a lot of rejections at least. So, guys, this is what I'm talking about. How much longer can you keep doing this? This is truly soul-crushing, man. I don't know how you can keep doing this.
Jeez, this guy Rehab is such a wuss. Z gets a little pushback, and Rehab Room is like, it's over, give up. Give up on your social hobby and switch it for a non-social hobby like gaming. It's moments like this that make it very hard for me to believe that Rehab ever actually tried in his life, considering that he's so fearful of the slightest thing going wrong. For example, how do you get a good job if you're this afraid of rejection? Also, keep in mind, I found this during my research as well, but Z is a beginner at this, and he's only had 3 weeks of training in photography, so of course he sucks. How is he supposed to become good if he doesn't experience failure? Does Rehab not see how he's giving toxic advice? Now, I will say that during all of my time watching Black Pill content, one of the most confusing videos I've watched was this one called How to Unlose Yourself in Your 30s, where Rehab tells people to look max, talks about how to get a good job that pays well, and talks about how to prevent balding, which is great. I will add that if you started losing your hair, get on medical treatment and medical therapy immediately.
Okay, finasteride, I have heard that, yep. That's the one I would say, finasteride. Minoxidil, nah. I would just do a hair transplant. Or just go bald, you know, just like give up.
But this was the most confusing video of his that I've seen. I also saw this moment where Rehab talks about how he used to be an alcoholic and gave advice on how to quit drinking. So despite all the really depressing messaging, I began to think that maybe he's actually trying to help people. Then I began...
Yeah, here's my black pill. Because Think Before You Sleep is not very interesting. Here's my... Actually, the black pill is right in that some people are doomed by factors that are statistically doomed by factors that are outside of their control. If you are a like white trash born into fucking Alabama in your mom's fucking garage, and your dad beats you every day, and your mom doesn't love you, and you're surrounded by poverty and surrounded by drugs at your high school, you're not going anywhere in life. Statistically, you're not going anywhere in life. Doesn't matter what you want to do, doesn't matter what your dreams are, doesn't matter that you're I'm an individual, free will. Statistically, you're not doing shit. Okay, so there's an element where it's like the hand you're dealt in life does control and limit how far away you can stray performance-wise. Like, think about it this way: if I'm dealt a certain hand of cards in life, I can only play those cards so good and get a certain outcome. Like, if I get shitty cards, I'm not gonna be able to like win the entire game and like win the jackpot. It's not gonna happen, right? I'm not gonna get a royal flush and just kill everybody. So there's limitation by kind of the cards that you're dealt. You can only kind of stray so far positive or so far negative from the cards that you're dealt. That's kind of the idea, and those are things outside your control. So kind of the domain and the range of your success, the bounds of your success are bounded by the cards that you're dealt, which is circumstantial. I would say that. And it is much easier if you have quote unquote good luck. Like, good luck matters a lot. Being in a good circumstance, having good genetics, having parents who raised you properly, being in a good culture, good environment, good house, access to money, access to resources and wealth. Yeah, all that matters. All that is going to drastically improve your chances at life. What's the problem with these black pill guys is they think that they're infinitely worse off than they actually are. Because what they're doing is they're taking themselves and they think they're like a 2. They're like, I'm a 2, my life's over. And then they cherry pick like pictures of like male supermodels. And they're like, oh, everyone's a 10 and all the women, every single one of them is just going for this guy right here, this 10. And my life's shit because this guy over here, this random picture I found online of a random dude, he's taking all my women. And everybody's a 10, and I just can't compete, and there's no women left for me, and da-da-da-da-da. And they just get in a big despair arc. They think that there's a bigger difference between them and men at large, and then B, they think that the men have like a total monopoly on women. They think that like, oh, there's no women left, like Chads took them all. It's like, well, no. There's new women turning 18 every day, boys. There's a new 18-year-old every day. Let's fucking go. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah. Yeah, so the fundamental concept of the black pill, the idea that your success is determined in many ways by things, or it's limited. I would say it's limited. You can always fuck things up. But the magnitude of success is mostly bounded by your position and by factors outside of your control. That kind of fundamental concept is true, but most black pillars, like, they misrepresent where they are, and they don't have a good sense of where they are, where other men are, where women are, and where like the average man is, because they have these like pictures of like supermodels that they cry and jack off to because they're like, oh, he's so handsome, he's cucking my wife, and you're like, okay, it's being weird.
Began to think more about black pill creators in general, and the reasoning behind why black pill creators like DBDR were popular in that community, and why so many people watch the I'm a 35-year-old virgin videos. I think it's because hearing other people's stories about how they're going through the same things makes them feel better. Rehab Room has some pretty awful and resentful takes, but I'm actually shocked that he hasn't fallen into complete malevolence, considering that he doesn't like his family and seems to not have friends or have been in a relationship. It's also shocking that despite the research blunders and low-effort fact-checking, he does seem to genuinely be trying to make his channel successful and puts a decent amount of work in, and his viewership is really high for a channel with only 20,000 subscribers. With that into consideration,
dude, this is so ironic. Literally changes. He's pointing out old names. You're not really like dead naming, basically.
Blunders and low-effort fact-checking, he does seem to genuinely be trying to make his channel successful and puts a decent amount of work in, and his.
That's so ironic that he's gonna go dead name and provide history, damning history to this channel. Oh, he deleted all of his old videos. Who else did that? Think before you sleep. Who else deleted all their old videos and completely changed their identity? Who else did that? That's funny. That's funny. That's funny you point that out, because I can think of another channel who completely deleted all their old videos with the word MGTOW in it and completely changed up their identity. That's so strange.
Viewership is really high for a channel with only 20,000 subscribers. With that into consideration, I will say that if Rehab is trying to help people, then this is not the way to go about it. It's one thing to tell a relatable personal story or expose a grifter, But at the same time, if people like Rehab are making statements like the black pill saves lives, but are constantly saying give up or you can't change things that matter, then they're going to push a lot of people into ending themselves, especially if his channel gets bigger. It's something to think about because instead of your message having the intended effect of helping people accept their lot in life,
Yeah,
you could
black
end
pill
up
is gay.
harming them.
Black pill is
For
gay.
example, stuff like this is terrible advice.
But I know what people say. Or be honest and own up to your mistakes like a real one. No, you have to blame something or someone else. Never acknowledge criticism. I am always setting things up so that I can reflect to others if there's a problem down the line. Hey man, it is not my fault. This is on QAT. What are they getting paid for if I am gonna do this as well? You know, again, you cannot do this if you are caught red-handed. This is why how you do this matters.
This is also not really true. I would disagree that your success with women is mostly composed of your looks. That it. I know what I would have said to that, which is, yeah, every guy who says that is attractive. Which, well, I'll say it's not only looks. I'll say it's not only looks. It's not enough to just, but it definitely helps. It does help. But it's not everything. You need a bunch of other shit too.
Blame others and people can tell it is a blatant lie, then you are gonna lose credibility. And by the way, I am not telling you to lie to yourself. The difference is this, and this is important. Internally, take notes and don't repeat it again. Internally acknowledge and try to see what you did wrong.
He's relaying something that he learned from the 48 Laws of Power, which was in a section that was obviously for people like politicians, that talks about how you can make it so you can manipulate mass groups of dumb people. But putting this kind of thing into practice in your personal life will make people hate you. Everybody knows that guy or that girl who blames their problems on everyone else, and they don't like that person. And it's especially bad in a relationship when someone won't ever take responsibility for mistakes they've made or bad things they've done. I understand that he gave a caveat, but since no one is actually seeing his humility, I can't help but think that this mentality very negatively affects Rehab Room in his personal life when it comes to his family, friends, and potential relationship prospects, and it's why he's not doing well in these areas. It's certainly affecting his content because his entire format is just blaming others for his problems.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just weird. He's going into this like full deep dive into this kid's personal life. You need to admit to your mistakes so that you can succeed. And yeah, I definitely think the whole it's all about looks is kind of a cope. It is a cope. It's not all about looks. You need everything. Everything's important. You need it all. You need looks, you need social skills, you need personability, you need intelligence, you need income, you need a feminine creative side, you need a masculine leadership side, you need everything. Yeah, the whole, it's all looks, yeah, it is kind of cope, so you don't have to think about the things you're doing wrong.
Literally nothing is his fault.
One thing that successful people do to gaslight people in tough situations, in unfortunate situations, is running the narrative that it is their bad choices that let them there. They say, oh dude, you just didn't work hard enough. You didn't try enough. Because then they can still cling on to their just worth fallacy.
Since we're talking about influencing others, I would highly recommend reading this chapter of Robert Cialdini's book that talks about how admitting to and apologizing for mistakes actually makes people trust you more. Obviously, this can be done sociopathically if you're an asshole, but the point is that you're not going to ruin your reputation by admitting to a fault. Now, I get it. Some people are born way less fortunate than others. Some people lose their hair at 19. Some guys grow out to be 5'1". Some people have bad facial features. But the good news is that many unfortunate things people were born with can be fixed by modern technology, and that technology is always getting better. Outside of that, you have to focus on things that you can change, because that will make you feel more in control of your life and make you happier.
It's also like you're never going to get a supermodel. That's what these dudes are doing, is they're comparing themselves to male supermodels, and they're looking at like supermodel chicks. It's like, yeah, you're not going to get that. Like, lower your expectations to what is actually feasible. No, it's kind of the porn, I want to say. I don't want to I don't want to be that guy who like attacks the porn, but like it kind of does that where it like makes you think you're entitled to like J cups, and it's like
What Rehab Room says, you can change things that matter. It's a lot better to be ugly in a luxury car than it is to be ugly in a shitter car that's 10 seconds away from breaking down. So fight to get a good job. It's a lot better to be ugly with friends than it is to be ugly without friends. Yes, it is possible to socialize, even if you're not a Chad. And last,
well, the thing is,
you
like,
can work on
most people aren't that ugly. They think that like, oh, I'm the bottom of the barrel. Like, there's nothing I can do. Most people aren't. Most people aren't. Statistically, most people are pretty just close to average, right? If you think normal distribution bell curve, most people are 4 to 6. That's where like 60%, maybe more, of the population lies.
your addictions because it's easier to be happy when you aren't a 300-pound guy who drinks every day. But most importantly, your life gets a lot easier if you don't constantly fill up your head with limiting beliefs. As for Rehab, unfortunately I didn't timestamp this, so I don't know where I saw it. But basically I watched him say that if he ever gets a girlfriend, then he's a sellout and not a true black pillar. What kind of shit is that? His obscene dedication to being a true Scotsman for the sake of consistency basically ensures that he will never get something that he very obviously wants deeply. Because based on what he said in the past, the minute he gets a girlfriend, he's a grifter. And also in that same light, if he ever gets successful at YouTube through hard work and merit, then he's a sellout. He spends like half his videos setting up traps for himself that limit his ability to succeed, which is stupid because clearly based on his subscriber to view count, he has the potential to be a big channel. After watching like 30 of his videos, I very much see the outline of a creator who's entertaining enough to be successful, provided that a few things were fixed. Now I don't know the future, but I can't imagine that it's helpful for him to say multiple times that he's a hypocrite if he ever experiences success. Then you have shit like this.
Sometimes the damage is done in life, man. You can looks max, maybe get to a certain looks level, but you will still have that bitterness in you. You will always remember how you were treated before. You will have that jaded feeling inside you. Like, for example, if I had traded looks with that kid at the store all of a sudden, right? Poof, we traded looks. I would still have that corner of darkness calling for me. That is what happens when you are too late to something, to that place.
Right, so he admits it's a mindset. Right? So he admits that, oh, even if I traded looks, I'd still be stuck with the mindset, which would make me jaded. So he admits that, like, yeah, most of it is a mindset that makes you see the world a certain way.
But feed my ego, go bang a different smoke show, different cutie every day, get my ass kissed everywhere I go. But like, I wouldn't be able to turn into him mentally. Wouldn't have
this. Yeah, and this is a very weird perspective. This is not real life. This whole like, oh, if I was a 5'10" white boy, everyone would kiss my ass. It's like, what the fuck? This guy doesn't live in reality.
That genuine enthusiasm and naivety about life.
As someone who was unsuccessful for a long time and then achieved pretty sizable amounts of success, I can say if you do achieve success.
Really think before you sleep, you would say that you don't even have a million subs. You post a video like once a month. What do you mean success?
After about 6 months, you'll forget what a failure that you used to be. It's pretty easy to let that stuff go when things are going well for you. Consider that. Anyway, thanks for watching. Follow me on Twitter, and I'll see you in the next video.
So yeah. Yeah, he's like, he's on his like aggressive arc. Fucking think before you sleep. He's mad. His mad arc. I don't know why. I don't know what his beef is. Like, yeah, if I was this guy, I would feel kind of like called out, like, by think before you sleep, like kind of unprovoked. This guy's just laying out. Yeah, people like think before you sleep are like a kind of a nightmare person to have on your channel, to have the spotlight on. I like the Eye of Sauron. That's pretty much what Think Before You Sleep is. It's just the Eye of Sauron. You just fucking... But it's not very good. Like, most of it's just mud and, like, personal attacks. Like, Most of it's him insulting the opponent. Oh, no one's good at research. No one's and like refuting with like anecdotes. Like he just posits a bunch of like, here's a good way to do things. It's very like basic, low level argumentation when he actually does get into like actual arguments. But I'm gonna leave this to run overnight. I'm gonna get some sleep because I desperately need some sleep. And I will see everybody soon. I hope everybody gets a little more sleep than I did, because I did not get very much sleep. So, take care, everyone.